And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, our token liberal, Rob Ambrose. And I just changed the name because people are complaining. People are
Yeah, I saw
telling
that.
us
I
that
saw that.
lefties, that liberals are not lefties. So if you're watching this one's for you. And as always, we're going to review what's in the news. But one thing to keep in mind, because our goal is simple, we want you to realize that it is possible for liberal and a conservative to not only get along, but to be able to debate when we don't get along. Because guess what? Common sense has no political affiliations. What's going on, bro?
What's happening, brother? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that little mini question there on your post. Basically, the question was, why do you keep calling Rob a leftist or a liberal when he clearly doesn't seem like it? And I mean, I do hear that.
I would not. It was more than that, though.
Yeah,
You're being extremely fucking polite because that is not what he basically said.
well,
Like,
I'm paraphrasing.
you're paraphrasing
in a very
but
polite way. In a very polite way.
Which you shouldn't. You definitely shouldn't be paraphrasing.
I do run into that.
What?
I do run into
Give
that.
me a second.
Yeah,
Bring
it up.
Though.
Let's bring it up. I do run into that. That's sort of like, oh, are you sure you're not a conservative? Are you sure you're on the right? And it's like, yeah. The thing is a lot of my positions on other issues that we don't speak out here would put me on left of center. Things like abortion, gun control. Well, we do talk about that sometimes, but my position would still be, I'm not opposed to them. I think they're valuable tools. I just think they should be regulated enough that my position on them probably sits left of center. The social safety net, role of government, gay rights. There's a lot of positions that still keep me on the left. It's just the ones we talk about here. There's no point in me talking about those things because I already agree with them. The things we talk about here are things I disagree with the left about. And also I've never really gotten into that leftist, like what's the actual definition of leftist versus liberal versus progressive? I don't fucking know. I think leftist is sort of like a radical far left person. And I don't think I would ever describe myself as a leftist, but just call me a lefty, I believe is accurate.
The thing is, and this is my problem, and this is why I called them out. And that's before you even joined the conversation. But hold on, I got it right here. So let me run this up so that people can know what we're talking about. But basically, the guy we were talking about the episode from yesterday, liberal versus conservative, ultimate policy showdown. And there's a guy, Evan, comes up and he's like, "Why is Rob described as a leftist when he literally has zero leftist beliefs or ideas?" Technically, we don't call you a leftist. We call you
I don't think we ever do.
But for sake of argument, basically what I told him is that I will let Rob answer, but you are mistaken leftist with the woke left, because I think this is the biggest mistake that people do. We have gone so far left that people automatically assume that if you're a lefty, you're woke, which this is very incorrect, because the woke left is a portion of the left. It is not the left itself. And that's where I went to say, and I'm like, okay, so you got classical liberals with common sense a la Bill Maher.
Yep.
And this explains why we call this show the Political Orphans, because Rob does not fit in the liberal party. I don't fit in the conservative party.
Right? Exactly.
But then he goes back and he calls out the leftism doesn't equal liberatism right here. And I'm like, he goes on to say that classical liberalism is just neoliberalism, which has absolutely nothing to do with leftists and just small c conservatism. And I'm like, bro, you clearly, that's why I went, hold on, where did I answer him? Because I answered him. Again, you're a lot more polite than I am.
I was more polite, yeah.
I basically said lefty is a popular term that people understand, which means someone with left-wing political views.
Inclination, right?
And that's all it means. And then I went on to say that I love how you try to make it sound like I don't understand politics. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that he basically said it's surprising.
Yes, I saw that.
You have a show about politics, and yet you have no understanding of political theory. Yet a simple Google will show you that the definition of a lefty or a leftist is simply someone with left-leaning politics, which you do. And then
Yep.
I went on to say that I love how you try to make it sound like I don't understand politics while implying that neoliberalism or classical liberals are not left-leaning ideologies. Like what the fuck are you smoking, bro?
Yeah, if
Like,
you're gonna
really?
say if you're gonna say classical liberalism is
Yeah.
just small c conservative, I mean there, if there's someone who doesn't really understand politics, I would say it's you, brother, or the guy who, not you, but the guy who made that comment.
That was
and
my
at the end of the
point.
day,
That was exactly my fucking point. Like,
Yeah.
don't call me out, asshole. Like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
sorry. I'll remove the asshole and I say, do continue to call me out, but don't call me out if you're not ready to have an actual discussion.
You got to bring the
about
goods,
this,
right? You got to bring the
because
goods.
he never answered me afterwards.
You got to
He
bring the
answered
goods.
you, but he didn't answer. Did you see his answer?
Yeah, I saw that, which is a bit snarky in and of itself. I think same vibe, same attitude, right?
Hold on. And my apologies. That's just what your partner continually describes you as.
My partner.
Very odd to show. Actually, I never said leftist. I say lefty.
Yeah, that's what I said. I've never heard you call me a leftist. That's the one thing I pretty specifically avoid. But I would go with liberal, left of center, lefty. I think these are all accurate terms. And at the end of the day, really, this show, I mean, we use these labels because they still have some value in that's trying to describe how we feel. But like, I would say almost anyone who's a political orphan who fits on the show, none of us fit perfectly neat within these traditional left-right dichotomy. As Joe Stradamus says, the whole point of this show is rational people meeting in the middle. Couldn't agree anymore, Joe. That was a great point. Joe is also a leftist.
There's so many of us. There's so you know what, Joe? Question for you, as somebody that is more liberal than me, do you consider yourself a leftist?
Yeah, what term would you use for yourself?
Yeah, because if I were to call you a lefty or a leftist or a liberal, would you agree? And I'll continue by saying, do you think that it's a problem that people from the left are not seeing you guys as lefties because basically you're not woke enough? That's what I see from that guy's message, because he went on to say that, oh, very odd for a show to be framed as putting left politics versus right, but y'all agreed on pretty much everything. Yeah, it's interesting when you have fucking common sense how people tend to agree, right?
Well, yeah, exactly, right. And
I like how he's using that to try to make a point, but actually proves the point of why we fucking are political orphans. Like, it's bro, come on.
And I mean, if you actually watch the show, you'll see that we don't agree on everything. We definitely do not. We'll have pretty broad disagreements on things like abortion, gun control, role of government, social safety net. But this show isn't meant to be just another political show where it's just attacking the other side. That's not the point. It's meant to show that as long as you come to the table with some common sense, we actually have a lot more in common than the media would certainly have us believe. So if you want the kind of show where it's just attack the other side, never agree with them no matter what, those shows exist. They're
government funded too.
Those are the majority of the shows out there, right?
They're not just guys in their living room.
If you're looking for something a little bit different, then this one's for you. Joe says he considers himself left, and as in left behind by my fucking party. Yeah, that's
and this is my whole point about this, and that's why I texted you. I'm like, hey, bro, you need to answer this.
Yeah,
this is exactly my point. But then I don't know if you took the time to go on his profile, but it's basically his profile says bicoastal science guy with the correct takes. So basically he claims to have all the answers, yet you're a scientist. That means you don't have the answers. You're just trying to figure out what the answers are. Those two should not be in the same sentence, right? But again, it's not surprising.
If that's your attitude, essentially my takes are the correct takes, then you wouldn't fit in here anyways. This is not this show is all about having a little bit of intellectual humility. The idea that we might all be wrong on something, right? We have our opinions, of course, and we'll You have to have something that grounds you. You have to have your own opinions. But like, there's always the idea that, you know, we might not always be right. Like, you have to, the moment you close your mind to that possibility, you're just same old, you know, now you're just baked into the political tribalism. That is sort of taking over politics these days. This show is an attempt to break out of that mold.
And here's the perfect example. So this is his profile. This is the type of stuff that he reposted 2 hours ago.
Yep.
But this I absolutely love. And again, Joe, as a lefty, look at this. It's saying this. We all see that. We all saw that picture of this, right?
Yeah.
This viral photo of the liberal boomer is missing context. He was being harassed by far-right activists. A liberal supporter is now facing doxing and online harassment after an aggressive group of far-right activists crashed a Mark Carney event. I know the people that actually did the video. It's Daisy and another girl. I cannot remember her name. They literally were filming the people. They weren't screaming at anybody. The video is right there where you can go get it. Yet the guy saw them. Maybe he recognized them because Daisy's pretty much everywhere. And he gave him the finger, which there's videos on his profile time and time again of people just literally walking up to him, giving him the finger, calling him names, and he just continues recording. So I love how he reposts shit without verifying it. And now turns around and calls you and I, basically calls you, because he didn't call me anything, but he calls you a fake lefty. You know what? So by his definition, you're not a lefty because you have critical thinking and
it's
how fucking insane. Rob, you have too much smarts to be a lefty.
Whoa, you think that men can have can give birth, women can have penises? Well, you're not a real lefty at all. Of course, that's all nonsense. You know, this is just that same purity spirals that have really ruined politics today. And yeah, I think that if you're that keen to just slot everybody into very precise labels and boxes based on, you know, it's not, if you agree with 80% of it or 90% of it, not enough. You're not that thing. You have to agree with 100% of it. Yeah. If that's your mindset about politics, again, this show really isn't going to be for you. Cheryl says, hi, Nico and Rob. Cheryl, good to see you as well. How you doing today?
What is going on, Cheryl?
Yeah, so guys, we've got the election on Monday. So it's basically, as the title says, it's crunch time. Where are we at? What are you guys thinking? That's basically what we're going to do today, a little bit like we did yesterday. Yesterday, what we did was we went through both parties' platforms, kind of line by line, and discuss what each party was saying on most of the major issues. Today, we're going to do something similar. We actually have a CBC News article where they do exactly what we did yesterday. They go through all the issues and say, but we're going to say basically, you know, again, it'll be a little bit more in depth because it talks about all the parties, not just the two that we talked about. But it also show that there are some things that they're not exactly correct about. The CBC might say some of the things that Carney is standing for, he doesn't actually. And of course, we will bring receipts because we have done our own homework into this, and we'll point out how how not necessarily what the media is saying each side goes for is what they're actually doing. But yeah, it'll basically be more election. If you're kind of sick of the election stuff, I get it. We are too. But you know, it is what it is.
Yep.
You know, it's happening Monday. We've got live election coverage. Probably, I don't know, Nico, we were going to talk about this about the show, but we kind of ran out of time. I'm thinking probably like 4 or 5 Eastern, maybe jump on for a few hours.
Jesus, bro, it doesn't, the polls don't close until like 7 or 8.
Okay, so we'll do an hour before, or maybe a half hour before the first polls close. Do you think that?
I'm thinking 7 p.m. Eastern time type of
and
deal. This is what I have in mind.
It'll be, if you followed our debate coverage, it'll be kind of the same thing. We're just going to be pretty low key, pretty relaxed, like maybe we always are. But we're just going to, take shit as it comes in. We're going to opine on it. Again, like with the debates, we're going to have the live stream being played as the main thing here. So you don't really have to go anywhere else. You can just watch it here with us. It'll actually be a little better, I think, because with the debates, like we couldn't really talk that much
No.
other than a throwaway comment here or there. But this will be a lot of space in between. So when early elections come in, we'll be able to talk about that while we wait for the next ones. It'll be the Atlantic provinces first that will come in first, and they will. And everything it'll be interesting because they typically are going to go liberal. Now, if we see them start to swing conservative, that's going to be an interesting sign. So it'll be. To be honest, I'm just as a fan of politics, I'm fascinated. I really have no idea. There's so many mixed messages, mixed signals right now. You've got your polling, and we are going to dig into that, saying one thing. Then you've got some of your other it's not hard data, but it's things like energy, crowd size, which I think that this is going to answer some questions about some of the big questions, like, is polling still work in modern politics, in the modern era? Because it seems to have broken down in America, right?
That's it's interesting you say that, because I was just looking at a polling right now, and those are the latest numbers that we've seen from CTV, and you always have to understand the numbers here are 2.7% each side, like either
plus or
minuses. So basically, if you're looking at a 43.5 and they're too high, and you're looking at 38.8 for the conservatives, so right now you're at 43% liberal, 38% conservative, 2.5% if the conservative are too low and the liberal are too high. That means you're bang on, like they're pretty much the same. But one thing I wanted to remind you was this was one of the last polling before the last election in the US, and Kamala Harris was winning by a few points. So your question is valid. Are polls still valid? I think the question should be reframed as in, how are they taking those polling? Are they taking it by phone? Are they taking it by their website? People show up and vote? Because I've seen some polling. If you and I start doing some polling, and we start looking, like we ask like our followers, hey, who do you guys vote for? It'd be very easy for, chances are the people that follow me, the 200,000 people of them, are fucking conservative or as much as conservative as I am. So guess who they would vote for? Either the PPC or the conservative. They would vote for the liberals. So I think
that's why internet polls, I think, don't hold much water or much weight. I think I feel like they're easy to skew.
But the same are for the phone calls, if that's how they're taken, right? Or is it a mix of both? Because technically it should be a mix of both. You should be taking people by phone that you're actually calling. So the baby boomers that don't understand what they believe that Facebook is the only social media platform usable out there, you're not going to get them on social. But at the same time, you're not going to get me on my cell phone either. So if you want to have a poll, and you know that they're only taking their own platform. They're not going search, algorithm, AI. What are all the polls in the last 48 hours coming from all places, tabulating them together? They're not doing that, obviously, right?
Yeah, no, and that's right. And I think, I think like that's kind of the question is has polling broken down in the modern world, like modern politics? Is the in a lot of ways, a lot of the sort of old tools we've used, even as we were talking about at the start of the show, tools like language, like when we talk about left and right, those definitions kind of break down. We still use them because there's still some value to them, but they don't work the way they used to. And perhaps polling is one of those things. And there could be all kinds of interesting reasons for why that is. It doesn't have to necessarily be that. I think for the most part, I think most pollsters try to get it right.
But I could challenge you on, I would add one more thing to consider is, do you trust mainstream media? Like not in polling, but just as a whole. Do you trust mainstream media, left, right, center? Just, do you trust them?
I don't think right now too many people do trust them. I
know that, but I'm asking.
For me, I would say no, but I think.
So can you really trust the polls, that they're not fucking around with the polls? Because it's not like they give us an Excel spreadsheet or something that we can download that has all the votes confirmed by the. Do you know what I'm saying?
So, well, yeah, no, for sure, absolutely, and that's sort of why I like, because I know that a lot of, especially people on the right, will just assume that the polls are just intentionally skewed. And maybe they are. I'm not saying that they're not. That's very possible. But I'm saying it doesn't even have to be that. It might just be, even if they were trying to get it right, just modern patterns of behavior as something as sort of innocuous as we've discussed is how people, 45 and under generally don't answer their phone, and people 60 and over will always answer their phone. Like little things like that might actually, if played out in a big enough scale, might actually have built in some just core biases. One thing is sure is polling seems to have broken down in America. And
I agree.
You can say that's just the Donald Trump effect, but I think this election here will really clarify some of that, because if Poilievre even comes close, then you could almost say, okay, there's something about polling, and maybe it is just flat out media bias, but maybe it's also some other dynamics at play where conservative or right-wing parties are just fundamentally going to be underpolled. And another thing that's absolutely possible is, I was talking about this the other day. I think me and you might have talked about it, but I was talking about it with my parents, just because we were talking politics, and there's definitely a sense that like my stepdad was saying, 30, 40 years ago, whether you voted left or right, like it wasn't, nobody saw the other as the enemy. No one was like embarrassed, or there was no taboo.
I had mentioned that before in the US, because that's what I saw for Trump voters. They would not advertise it on their front lawn, for example. They don't want to say it. But if you knew them, you know that they're going to vote Trump, but they could not say it out loud. And today, Pierre Poilievre is being referenced to as
in the same way.
Small Trump. So are people going to go walk out and say, I'm going to vote for Poilievre? No, they won't. At least they'll be more shy about sharing it. So I agree.
I think so too. I think that's definitely a factor. So there's a lot of things at play, but at the end of the day, as they say, the only polls that matter are the ones on election day. But I think as people who talk about this, as people who create content around this, I think it's sort of a fascinating thing to watch, to see, because we've seen enough of Trump now. So he's been running since 2016 to know that that's true in the States. The right wing, the Republican vote absolutely is not showing up in the polls.
No.
It happened both in his elections, right? It happened in 2016 when he was supposed to lose big time. And he won a little bit. He didn't win a lot, but he won a little bit. And then back in November, it was supposed to be neck and neck, and it wasn't at all. So in both times, he dramatically overperformed. So the question is that going to be the case here now? Are we going to see that same dynamic? Because right now the polling obviously favors Carney. You are seeing in the numbers you just brought up.
Not by
you're seeing a shift in direction, though. You're seeing the gap closing. Yeah, the gap's certainly closing.
You know what I find interesting, though, is that there seems to be a lot less PPC voters. Like, that is one thing I was looking at. See how the PPC, I remember seeing polls that were at 4, 5, 6% for the PPC a couple of weeks ago. And now, they keep on losing. Every single time I look at a 3-day change for them, they're low. Does that mean it's real or not?
I think that's probably the vote splitting discourse has been effective.
Or maybe, another thing that might have been contributing to this and in a bad way for Maxime Bernier is his exposure to like a podcast like Alex Jones. Because again, even today, if you look at his platform, he reposted a bunch of stuff because Alex, I think, had him on again remotely this time, but yesterday.
Do you think that hurt him? Do you think that hurt him?
Well, this is one of the things, right? And Cheryl might be a good person to ask. And by the way, Cheryl, you shouldn't apologize for missing.
No, not at all. Cheryl,
but we appreciate that you feel like you owe it to us, because you don't. But you don't need to file back.
You are one of our most loyal listeners, and you never have to apologize.
But we did miss you.
Life happens, right?
Oh, we missed you, though.
We did miss you. Cheryl says, "What's bugging me?" Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go for it, man.
Cheryl says, what's bugging me about the election is the 91 incumbents in Pierre Poilievre's riding. It looks like election interference already. Yeah, I think that's a bit fishy. I think that's, I think there's nothing wrong with when you have ballots like that. Maybe all the major parties should have like bolded names or something highlighted.
Yeah, but that's not fair. That wouldn't be fair, though.
Yeah, well, I'll show you. Have you seen I know you have. I'm gonna bring it up.
Don't
just in
assume
case-
what I do and do not know.
No, I'm saying, have you seen the ballot for Poilievre? I
Oh,
assume
yeah,
that
I
you
showed
have.
it to you on the show.
Yeah,
last
yeah.
week.
Well, exactly.
I brought it up here. It's like you need to zoom out. It's so.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
91
Here it is. Just in case our audience is not
insane.
quite. It is
Hold on, let me
insane.
remove
Oh,
this. You need to
yeah.
re-add yours, bro.
Okay. Let me see here.
You need to remove it and re-add it.
Stop sharing and then
Ah!
reshare. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that is the ballot. I mean, I'm gonna zoom way in.
But that's insane. And Pierre Poilievre is P. So you know he's not at the top, he's not at the bottom. He's messed around somewhere in the middle where you need to look for him. Right?
Yeah. It's it does it smells fishy. I'd be interested to see, are there any other ridings that have that kind of a ballot? Because that smells that's very
come
dicey.
on. You know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Come on, you know the answer to this. And by the way, guys, we're trying something new today. We are not streaming from my X, and Rob is not streaming from his X on the X platform, because we want you to go follow the Pulley Orphans on X.
Yes.
And obviously, following on X is not enough. You need to go to YouTube as well. But the point is this: we're trying something new. But for anybody that's watching the show right now, if you don't follow the Pulley Orphans on X and on YouTube, that's your homework for today. Just give us a like, give us a follow. And if you feel really good about it, you should even reshare this stream. Just takes 2 seconds. Show other people that there are, how could we call us? Common sense individuals. Common sense individuals. They're still there. Because we're not the only ones that feels like orphans. No, I don't attach to the Conservative Party. You don't attach to the Liberal. So we're like, we are orphans, but yet we still somehow get along without having to speak about hair products. So there's something there. But yeah, to go back to what we were talking about, Maxime Bernier, I was surprised to see those numbers earlier, because he keeps on going down and down, and yet he hasn't changed his message. His message hasn't changed in 2017. If you got to give something to that guy, is that he's fucking constant in his messaging. But there's a point here, like I'm saying, that the podcasts probably didn't help him. I don't know. But I do know for a fact that, as somebody that's considered a conspiracy theorist that pretty much agrees with all the conspiracy, air quoting here, that Maxime has, and even I would go further than him, is that really what you want to push as a political message when people don't really know you? Because this is problematic, right? If I would have told you 4 years ago that the WEF push those soup, I'm saying soup because I don't want to get in trouble, but you know what soup means. But the WEF push the soup in order to get rid of 90% of the world population, people are just like, what the fuck are you talking about? So is that really the approach that you want to have as a political party? And I'm not saying that's necessarily what he's saying word for word, but he does say things along those lines. Are you trying to go too far right too fast, considering that we are so far left? Like, he's not right. I'm more conservative than him, but we are fucking in woke space in Canada. So putting it back to even to a libertarian policy, that's far right for the lefties, right? So
that's right.
And I think Cheryl's making a great point. Sorry to cut you off. You can take it on afterwards, but she's making a good point here. Personally, Max shit talking Pierre Poilievre hasn't set well with me, but at the same time, there's you got to be careful, because I call out Pierre Poilievre all the time. Am I shit talking? Is calling him out for not being conservative enough when he's representing a conservative and saying that he doesn't have a backbone? Is that shit talking, or am I just pointing out the truth? Because I had high hopes for him. He had all the opportunities possible to actually stand up for something. Even though I don't like him, that doesn't mean I wouldn't have voted for him. I don't vote with my emotions. But at the same time, has he really stood up to the conservative word? I don't think so. I really don't think so. So he's calling him out that Is it shit talking? I'm not sure. You tell me, Cheryl.
I bet you that Polyev supporters probably see it as such. I don't
Bro,
know.
me out all the time on a daily basis about it. So yes, they definitely do.
Yeah.
Yes, you are correct.
Cheryl says, I have a liberal voting family who brought the ballot up and thought it was fantastic. I told them I thought it was disgusting to single someone out. I believe in fairness.
It is disgusting.
Yeah, it's just it just kind of it just I don't think it's a good look. I think now do you think that I'd still be pretty surprised if he doesn't win his seat? Although I've heard some people talking, like apparently the turnout in his riding specifically, which I believe is Ottawa, somewhere in Ottawa.
It's Carleton.
Carleton, yes,
just outside of Ottawa. Yep.
It's very high. I think I read somewhere that last election they had 70,000, give or take, votes cast, and so far just on early voting, I think it's close to 60,000. Now that doesn't have to mean anything. It could be lots of Polyev supporters.
Brother, just 8. So this was posted not even 8 hours ago. So we're the 25th. Fuck, it was updated this morning. The CTV is saying that preliminary data shows that 43,393 voters have already gone out to vote for in the Carleton.
Okay, so 43,000.
But yeah, 4 days in advance. So I wanted to talk about this. How right now
91 candidates. Wow.
But right now there is, and that's CTV. So it's not even like this is left-leaning media that is confirming what conspiracy theorists are saying, that there's 91 people on the ballot. It's not a joke. If CTV says it, the right says it, the middle says it, chances are there's some truth to it. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's already 44,000, like give or take 44,000 Canadian in his riding that went out and voted already.
That's Friday. A Carleton riding, right?
Yeah, but if you look, see here, they have some numbers right here. So they're saying 43,000 in Carleton, 28,000 in Canada, which is west of, like it's part of Ottawa, but it's on the west side. Nepean is also on the west, but closer to downtown than Canada. Orleans on the east of Ottawa. Ottawa Center obviously is center. South is south. But look at the numbers, man. Like you're talking a shit ton of people have already gone out and vote. This was last Friday. They're calling it between advanced poll that took place between April 18th to 21st. So basically, man, it goes with the 7.3 million Canadians, as per Election Canada, have already voted, which is it's a record. They've never seen anything like it before. It's a 25% increase from the 5.8 million Canadians who voted early back in 2021. So 7.3 million people have already voted. And you know what's fucked up about that is that was last Friday. So that's before the Liberal platform was out. That's before the Conservative platforms. Both the Liberal and the Conservative platforms weren't even out yet. And you already have 7.3 million people that showed up to vote, which is fucking insane, man. Because how many people, how many Canadians voted in the last election? I'm ready to bet that it's like 20, maybe 20 million, maybe. I think it was 9. I think we looked and it was 19 million something.
I'm trying to find how many people voted in Carleton in the last election, and I'm sure I can find it somewhere. But because I'd be curious to see like how much of that riding, like, okay, so there's 131,000 people in that.
121, and there's almost 50 of them that already voted. That's insane.
Yeah, so 131. I think a good number to use is probably 70%. That's generally, roughly the turnout. So what I'm just going to see what
70%. Oh fuck, 70%. No, it's not. It's not that high, is it?
No, what is this? 60 then.
Well, it depends. I'm looking for the numbers right now. I'm trying to find them.
Yeah, it's so it's interesting to see. I mean, in some ways, it's kind of heartening. I was gonna say, man, if voter turnout numbers are down this election, then like something, we're cooked because no one gives a shit anymore. Because like this election, no matter what, if this doesn't have you kind of fired up, like nothing, you just don't give a shit. But one thing I think is interesting is I see this as a status quo versus change election. Fundamentally, I don't really think it's about Carney or Poilievre. I think it's about change or the same. And I do think in those kind of elections, I think early voting turnout is going to favor the change party and not the status quo party. I don't know if there's any data to back that up. It's just my gut feel. I feel like that's how it works. Now, that doesn't mean, maybe there is data to back that up, but I just think, if you're talking status quo, no one's excited. No one runs out there to do. Oh wait, here we go. What is this here?
So this is from Election Canada.
Okay.
Election Canada Democracy.ca, calling it from 1867 to 2021, which is the last election. So obviously the first one to the last one. As you see, it started around the 73% ish, like 74%, went up all the way to 80% in the 60s. And then it was down to what looks like about 63, somewhere between 63 and 65%. Oh, there you go.
And this one's going to be up there. This one's going to be up there.
So we are saying, so it started around 73%. I'm pretty bang on for 1867. It was 62.6. So let's call it 63% in 63% in 2021. So what is how many Canadians can vote? So we're looking at around then and now. So it seems that right now we have 27 million people. Calculator, please. Bang, bang. So we got 27%. So what is it? 27, 642, 171 times, what did we say? 0.62%. It was 0.62 last election. So you're looking at around 17 million people, give or take. If we look at the numbers from the last election, that would show up. So about 17.1 million. And then if we take that number and so 17.1. So if we take 7.3 divided by 17.1. What the fuck? Well, I can calculate.
I'll just take a couple of these questions here. So because Cheryl makes a good point.
So you're already seeing like 42% of the people have voted. If you look at the last number, 7.3.
Well, I'm looking at the
potential
20 right now
million.
That's
crazy.
The 22. I'm just looking at that is crazy. On Poilievre's in his election and his riding in Carleton in 2021, he won with 49.9% of the vote, which is 35,000. In total, 71,000 votes were cast. So if they're saying that 43,000 have already been cast, that's about 60%, just off the top of my head. And
you said how many were casted? Sorry, 71,000.
71,000 in total.
So let's do a rough estimate here.
Yep.
You're talking about 43, and you said 71.
Yep, 43 into 71.
God damn, bro! It would be, if you want to be exact, it would be around 61%. But we'll give it to you, 60%.
Nice. Yeah, so that sounds quite a lot for advanced voting, especially because
especially if you're at 7.3 million, which represents around 42%.
And remember too, that's
17, and in this riding, it's
Easter
on
weekend. That's Easter
but
weekend.
it could be that all the fucking conservatives are like, fuck you, you're not fucking us with that 91.
It could be.
And that would not surprise me, because I can tell you that I spent a lot of my life in Ottawa. Carleton is outside of Ottawa, and if there's a place that would be more right leaning, it would be there. Like, it would make sense. It's a smaller community. It's not fucking Ottawa, right? The people in Carleton are not in Canada and Nepean that all work for the government, right?
Yeah, and maybe they got disgusted by this ballot shenanigans, right? Maybe they said, okay, well, fuck that. I'm going to go out there. Cheryl says the issue for Poilievre, Rob, is the amount of time it may take some voters to get through the ballot. Will this cut down on the amount of people who are able to get through the poll on election day? That's also a good point.
I don't think they can close it in the face of people.
Yeah, as long as you're waiting. I definitely think that that's kind of the if this was done for ill intentions, and it clearly seems like it. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, Nico, was that CTV thing that you had brought up. I don't know if you still have it up.
Which one? Yep. Which one?
It said in the very first yep, at the very top there.
Yep.
When I talk about it, if it says there was a part where it said it discussed the people who are actually on the ballot. It said 85 of those people are right there. It says 85 of the candidates registered just at the bottom of that paragraph to run in Carleton are associated with the electoral reform group, the Longest Ballot Committee. So
they're doing it on purpose.
So that clearly sounds like fucking around, and all have the same official agents. Tom, so how is that allowed? Like, how is that allowed? They're all, I don't even understand that, but they all have the same guy in charge. It's Thomas Suchawez or whatever.
And Jesus, you said it a lot better than I would have.
and they're all, they're called the Longest Ballot Committee. They're clearly not serious. I don't know how that's allowed.
And clearly look at this, like the first line, the Ottawa riding with one of the longest ballots in history had the highest voter turnout across Canada in advanced polls, according to Election Canada. So, this is either a very good thing for Pierre Poilievre or a very bad thing for Pierre Poilievre. Because I could see if I have a lot of friends that are conservative in Canada. They're not conservative like me. Like, they're a big C conservative, not a small C conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And they would take that as an insult. To say that there's 91 fucking people to vote for on that ballot, and people are just like, no, fuck you. We're going to show up and we're going to vote right now to send a message. That backfired.
Like, people don't like to be manipulated.
Taken for idiots. No, taken for idiots. You're not even manipulated at this point, because literally the group is called the Longest Ballot Committee. So they literally did it on purpose, but it costs money. To be able to put your name on the ballot. So you have a bunch of people that have enough money to spend.
Or just one group with a lot of money, like a Liberal Party or something.
George Soros! I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm giving an example. Like, what's the Canadian George Soros?
Who is it?
Jordan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't make up a name. Take Slave's comment, by the way. Slave, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, Slave, good to see you, brother. Haven't seen you for a few days. Good to have you back. Cheryl says, my family's friend took a photo and sent it to them. My family member showed me a pic of Poilievre's ballot. Yeah, it seems whatever's actually going on, it has the hint of fucking around. You know what I mean? And people don't often like that. Like, people don't like if they feel like. So I could definitely see a lot of conservatives or Poilievre supporters going out there and say, you know what, fuck it. And again, I do think it's a change election. I think it's change versus status quo. I mean, of course it is. The Liberals have been in charge for 9 years. And as we see from their platform, it's essentially the same thing by their own admission. They have said it was already ready before Carney came in. So it is a status quo change election. And I'd love to see if there's actual data to back this up. But just my sense of how politics works and how people feel is, if it's a change election, the excitement is usually going to be on the side of the change side, right? And that's sort of backed up by what you see at the rallies. But another indicator of that would be early voting numbers. If you're looking for change, you're more excited. You're likely to go out and go on your Easter holiday weekend. That's pretty wild to have those kind of numbers.
Man, it's all up for grabs and interpretations right now, because if you think about it, it could be that the 65-year-olds that are voting for the Liberal are scared that they're going to die until then, so they have to vote early, right?
Yeah, it could be. It's
but you don't know, right? You really don't know. You could see it from either side, but if we go back to the polling, for sure, this is something new, because Canadians are not excited. Canadians are not like the US when it comes to election. Election is a big fucking deal in the US. In Canada, is like, oh, God damn it, I need to make time for this. It's not like people are excited to vote in the US. In Canada, we're not. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go vote. But
Yeah.
at the same time, this is why I think, to go back to the original point that you made, is how do you calculate proper voting intentions?
Hmm.
You can't just use traditional polling. You can't
Yep.
just use internet polling. You can't just look at crowd sizes, but you need to be able to look at them all and somehow tabulate them together, because you can't tell me that Kearney, that's in a town that has 150, 200,000 people, can barely get a few hundred people to show up. But then Poilievre is in the same size of town and he has multiple thousands of people showing up. You cannot tell me that this does not carry weight, because the Americans tried to say the same thing when it came to Trump and Kamala Harris. And, I got bigger size. No, you don't. Trump exploded the sizes of crowd that Kamala had. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter, even if the polling were showing them head to head. And unlike in Canada, we don't have really right-leaning mainstream media. We don't have them, unless you consider like a Rebel News or Juno News to
Probably
be
not mainstream,
but they're not.
No.
Like, we don't have the CNN,
we don't have a Fox
the
News.
CNN and Fox News, exactly. So you're only looking at only one side of the equation. That's always from the left side, So you don't know what's really going on, and you and I don't have fucking clue, because
no, we don't. We don't.
And in fact, probably yesterday,
the only difference. Now, nobody has a fucking clue. The difference is me and you will be the first to admit it.
If we fuck up, of course.
But we'll be the first to admit we have no fucking clue. We're just a couple of yahoos, but everybody's a couple of yahoos at this stage. No, like we're kind of like.
Although I've heard some things coming out of Alberta yesterday that, as per that person, the Liberals are going to win the election.
Oh, really?
About the voting, like what he's saying.
Is it the guy that we're probably both thinking of, like fairly well connected politically?
He is very well connected, but I don't know if you know him or not.
Okay, no,
it's just, again, you look at the voting, you look at the crowd sizes, you look at the internet, what people are saying, but then you're not on the street. And if as somebody that's traveled the U.S. on the street, 30 states over the past 3 years, give or take, this is very different when you hear in the news and what you see on the street when you actually talk to people. So it has to be a correlation between the four.
It has to be.
But I don't like what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, because I've heard of conservative people that are actually worried that Pierre Poilievre did not do enough, and that Mark Carney was able to do enough to get, because the Liberals won the last 3 elections, so they had more people on their side. So Mark Carney's job wasn't necessarily to go get conservative people to join his team, but to maintain the Liberals to continue. Exactly. And was changing from Trudeau to him enough to do it? I think so. I don't think they bled that much, but Pierre Poilievre's job was a bit harder, because he needed to go get people like you to join his team, and then
he didn't help he didn't help his cause very much. He did not,
by not standing for anything. If Pierre Poilievre, to me, Pierre Poilievre is either gonna, if he loses, it's his fault. It's not Mark Carney. It's Pierre Poilievre's election to lose, because he blew a massive fucking lead when Trudeau was still there, but he did not differentiate himself enough from the Liberal Party that he made it clear where he stood compared to the Liberals. You want to take some of the comments there before we jump into the CBC? Because I really want to show the CBC website you sent me. I really like it. I like it as it is simple, right? Click, click, click. They're all there. It's well done.
Yeah, you can see exactly. Yeah,
it's well done.
Yeah,
right?
it's great for us to kind of opine on it. And just before I take a couple of these comments, just about like what you're talking about, crowd size and stuff. And I know some people are like, oh, that shit doesn't matter, but as you said, it kind of has to, right? Like, especially if you sort of, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of political theories going around right now. Does polling mean anything? What does early voting mean? Like, what does all this mean? Do rally size mean anything? And no one really knows. But I think to get to the closest to the answer, like, I like to be able to see a mechanism just based on, human nature. And for me, when you think of going out to a rally, right, just think of the average family or person, you got to get ready. You got to, maybe get a babysitter for the kids. You've got to plan your day. You leave your home, you drive. It's inconvenient. It's a pain in the
100%.
ass. You're not going to do it unless you're really pumped up, right? You're really excited. And if you have a lot of people really excited, I think that's a genuine indicator of something.
This is why, to me, it's like getting, the old expression, you receive a letter complaint in the mail, you're just like, oh, that equals 10,000 people that are pissed off. Like if you're a news network, for example,
one
letter is like 1,000 people. So is it the same thing for this? Like if you're capable of filling out a 2,000 people, or let's call it 1,000 people area with voters, does that mean there's actually 10,000 of them that would have gone, but that couldn't be, like they didn't have the time, they couldn't make it work? Because as you said, it's a pain in the ass
to
show up. So,
and that's a good point.
But if you look at the age, it's easier for a liberal voter to make the time to go to a rally because they tend to be older.
They're older, right?
The people that are my age, I'm like, bro, some days I can't even squeeze the gym in.
You got kids.
I can't even squeeze the gym in because I simply do not have the fucking time. I either something came up or I just mismanaged my time, but I do not have the fucking time. So how many people are out there that it's exactly the same? So, let's take some of those messages if you want. And
so Cheryl actually asked a good question. My question is, what happens if Poilievre doesn't win his seat, but the Conservatives win the election? Does anyone actually know that? I can't even. He would probably become prime minister anyways, wouldn't he? Because
like Carney,
Carney doesn't have a seat. Carney doesn't have a seat. But it would not be ideal.
No, but you have to remember that you vote for the party in Canada. You don't vote for the person. Winner. It's exactly. So if Pierre Poilievre is the leader, I don't see why. But that means, I think where the difference is, and this is what's very strange, is that because he's not a member of parliament, he cannot vote on anything.
It's very strange.
Conversation where voting is involved, he can't vote. He literally needs to sit on the side like a little bitch and just like, okay. Why do you think Carney didn't reopen Parliament? Because he wouldn't have been allowed to be to participate. He would have had to sit in a corner like a bench warmer and just, hey, little Carney. And I don't think his ego could take that type of.
And I think and I think that I think like. Technically, it's possible he could still be prime minister. I think in practice,
I think he would because it's the leader of the party.
Yeah, no, he definitely can be, but I think in practice it might be very difficult because it would just be constant, nonstop. He couldn't even win his own riding. Why is he prime minister? The Conservative Party could still pick him as prime minister because they can pick anybody, right? But I think they might go with someone else. And I'm actually just going to show something right quick. It's only 30 seconds before we get to those comments because it's right up this alley. I was talking to you a little bit about earlier.
My stuff before so that it actually shows yours. There you go.
Okay, yeah. I'll stop this. Okay, let me redo that. But it's basically someone talking about kind of exactly like that.
Exactly like that. Wow, that is some precise shit right there, bro. Great orbit.
Sort of right in that wheelhouse because it's someone talking about what could happen, and this person seems to suggest that it might open the floor for Doug Ford to jump in.
For Pierre Poilievre to lose his riding for the reasons that Nathan has pointed out. I think if he loses, his riding, he's done. He will be, he's losing the election. That opens up the possibility that Doug Ford will become the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And so if there is cooperation, I'm sure some of it is quite self-interested. I'm sure there's also, though, a lot of rivalry between the two that's opened up because it's not just liberals that are talking about this, it's conservatives.
So what do you guys think of that? What would you...
So basically, Doug Ford would need to step down as the Premier of Ontario
basically,
in order to become Prime Minister, but that would mean that he would have to be voted for. I don't see that happening. I don't see it from... If there's one thing that Doug Ford did during the past month or two, ever since Carney became the prime minister, is that he exposed himself to not be a conservative whatsoever. If you think Poilievre is not a conservative like I do, Ford is even worse
I
Like he's
think
even more
he.
of a leftist than
I think he was acting in
Polyev is.
self-interest. Like I think he just doesn't want to help Polyev at all because I think he wants his job. I think he
I don't
wants to
see
be
it
the
happening.
leader. I
don't
think he
see it
wants to be the leader.
happening.
Now I do believe though when that woman
If
was
there's
discussing
one
it,
that would happen, it would be the premier of Alberta, Daniel Smith.
Smith.
Because you know that if this happens where Doug Ford throws his name in the hat of representing the Conservative Party, you know
Yep.
that Daniel Smith would fucking jump at that chance because she'd be able to do more for Alberta from a PM perspective than she would. And this is somebody I would consider voting for. Like Daniel
Yeah.
Smith, if she would be to represent the Conservative Party, I'd probably get a Conservative membership just to vote for her. Obviously, she's not perfect. Nobody is. But at the same time, I don't know, man. If there's one politician I really like as a premier, is her. She's my favorite. I'm not saying she's perfect, but she's my favorite right now. At least a month ago, I'd have to look at what she's been doing for Alberta during that time because obviously I was way too preoccupied with the federal election. So what the fuck do I know? But at the same time, if Ford is throwing his name in there, so would Daniel Smith. I can't believe that she wouldn't try to become PM. And bro, she is like a nightmare for the woke left because she's a woman. Like she's a
for sure.
She's a nightmare for the woke left.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt there. I think I even think that woman who was talking about that there, I think she was assuming that if Polyev loses his seat, the Conservatives will also lose the election, which is probably a safe bet. But Cheryl brings up a very interesting question: what if he does lose, but the Conservatives win? I feel like in some ways it's kind of uncharted territory. I know he can be president or prime minister because obviously Carney is prime minister too, but it's just, would they do it? Would they pick? Because they still have to vote for.
That's a good point. They could do I think they could do the equivalent of a vote of non-confidence.
Yeah.
And just kick him out.
Because they don't have to. It's a given that if you have the majority, your leader has a seat, you will vote for him as prime minister. But there's nothing saying they have to. If he doesn't have a seat, they could very well just vote anyone that does have a seat.
It's a very, very interesting philosophy question.
Yeah. Very, very interesting.
Because I really don't have an answer for you. I really don't know.
Fubar says, I think all the early voters are majority libs. Why I hate early voting with a short election. Can't change your mind once you cast your ballot and find out that candidate was lying. Yeah, I mean, we're all sort of feeling around in the dark right now about what these things mean. Like we're trying to read the tea leaves, but none of us really fucking know. You're right. You're absolutely right.
I love it.
Like
I'm going to start throwing bones on the table too.
Yeah, exactly. Like chicken bones. And I do believe that in a change election, early voting numbers will favor the Change Party. However, I think when you zoom in and you look at Poilievre's seat, there could be a lot of excitement just to get rid of Poilievre from the Liberals, and that could explain these really high numbers.
Thanks for making it even more complicated because I did not think about that. Thanks a lot, asshole. Now, now
exactly.
You're making it even more complicated. Yep.
Cheryl says, exactly, Rob. How is this being allowed? Are they being funded by the Liberals? Just talking about that ballot. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, they may as well be called like the fuck around with elections party. You know what I mean? It's called the long ballot party. Like, come the fuck on. 85 of them, and they all are under this one guy. Like,
and again, if a group, the same group would do that to Mark Carney in the Nepean riding where he's actually trying to get elected, which he never lived in, by the way. You know that would be the end of the world. Everybody would be talking about this 24 hours a day. It's like, this is Pierre Poilievre. You know that this person is either a Russian bot or a Pierre Poilievre funded group. You know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know they would.
Yet in their CTV article, they're making it sound like, oh, this organization is doing that. There's 91 people on there. It is almost the longest ballot of all time. No.
They never read the name of the party though.
No. Of course
for
not.
Fuck's sakes. Slave ID says, I voted early. The only thing swirling in my mind is if they tossed my ballot or doctored it. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other rabbit hole. I guess anything's possible. I still believe
You saw
election
that in the
workers.
last election, bro. Like you
Yeah.
saw it in the Biden against Trump election.
saw it
There's
in the
videos that
States.
came out
Yeah.
afterwards where left-leaning voter counting individuals would take bags of votes and just dump them in the fucking garbage or even burn them. So is it possible or not? Again, I don't think we have a very good system as to.
I mean, it's
I don't
certainly
think there's any
possible.
perfect
It's certainly
system
possible.
because
Yeah.
machine can be docked, mail-in ballots can be docked. You look at whatever, you have to trust that the people that are doing the work and reporting on it are honest.
And I
That-
don't know
that's-
enough about our the actual processes by how ballots are handled. I would hope, I would assume, but I would definitely hope that like both sides are all have like an overseer, like the Conservative Party
Yeah.
will have so that at least
I'm hoping so.
yeah, you would have something like that. Because yeah, that would obviously really taint that could tear the country apart if we start to
I love
get if
that
it
word taint
taint.
because I don't think about the word taint. I think
Yeah.
about taint.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know you do. Yeah, it's the French in you. Oh yeah, the taint.
Don't forget about the taint.
Yeah, taint the balls and taint the asshole. Foobar Canada says Canadians have TDS. And I'm seeing too many elbows up people in our conservative stronghold town. That yeah, I mean, I think to be it's funny. Nico was saying not long ago that like you didn't see Carney is winning this so much as Poilievre losing it, and I agree with that. But I think big picture, it seems like it's really about Trump. If Carney wins, because that was when all the tariff stuff started to go down. That was when the polls started to change. And it is certainly there's a lot of TDS going on, certainly with the older generation. And again,
they would have never voted for Pierre Poilievre in the first place. I don't think that the people that have TDS would have voted for Poilievre in the first place.
I've noticed a difference, like in say my parents, who are that baby boomer generation, where 2 months ago they were like you said, they were liberal, but like they didn't think Poilievre was. They just thought he was like not the guy they would have voted for, but they didn't think he was like Trump. They didn't think he was like evil. But I'm sensing a shift now, and I think it's again they're just the older generation. All they get their news from is mainstream media, and
that's
there
my
has
point.
just
they wouldn't have voted for him. They were just looking. Your parents were just looking for an excuse not to vote for Pierre Poilievre.
Well, no doubt. But just the way that they've gone sort of so hard against him suggests like it for ways that it isn't really justified. Like you might not.
He's nowhere close to being
nowhere
a small
near
Trump.
Like he's nowhere near mini Trump.
That to me, calling Poilievre a mini Trump is an insult to Trump because he's nowhere fucking close.
Well,
to being...
and you saw the Liberal Party with that button scandal that died off real quick. By the way,
oh yeah, no problem. That's
we haven't
totally
heard
normal.
about it. But that's
No
absolutely
problem.
exactly what they were trying to do, tie Poilievre to Trump. And so I have no doubt that that's what mainstream media in Canada has been trying to do as well.
Of course.
Slave says, good to be back, fellas. Thanks. I was away at work. Well, good to have you back. Hopefully your work trip went well. Cheryl says, in my opinion, a lot of Canadians, no matter what they have traditionally voted, realize that crime is up and cost of living is up. Yeah, I mean, to me...
but no.
I mean, to me, it's not even an ideological battle. It's just about performance. It's about competence. When I look at what the Liberals have done over the last 9 years, like I'm left of center. I'm traditionally inclined to vote for the Liberals. I can't do it this time, but it's not ideological for me. It's not about hating Poilievre or hating Carney or loving either of those guys. I don't really have I like Carney more than like Trudeau. Now that's a very high bar, but honestly, I could have seen Carney as the leader of the Conservative Party, and I would have voted for him if he was. I think that I know you wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't.
He's not a conservative, but neither is Poilievre, right? So
no, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and it goes to what you've been saying a lot. This idea that there really is not much difference between the two parties. Now, I think
the fallacy in your way of thinking is that you assume that people on the left are like you, yet, as per the comment we talked about when we first started the show, clearly they're not. So for you, you're trying to take a logical approach to the way that you're going to vote, They are not. If
No,
you
no, it is.
honestly
It's
believe
ideological for them, for sure. It is.
exactly. So if
Sure
you're
it is.
capable of ignoring the fact that 10 years of liberal government has put us in the whole GDP wise, inflation wise, economy wise on every single level, if you're capable of forgetting this and blaming Trump for 100 days in office, it's not about common sense, and I cannot resonate with you. There's nothing I can do to resonate with you, and no matter what, you would have voted for the liberal, because all they had to tell you is that Pierre Poilievre, it's his fault. He's like a mini Trump. If you think that this is bad, what's happening in the US right now, imagine if we had that in Canada, yet they're the one that destroyed the economy over 10 years. If
Yeah.
that's all you need, that's what I'm saying. So,
Well,
I get what you're saying, but instead of going down that route, let's take some of the comments that we can show your article, because I really want to show your CBC article to show the difference. But bro, I think you have to forget the fact that you have to remember the fact that you're not the average lefty.
No, that's right. That's right. That's selfish. It absolutely is ideological for many of them. And just very quickly,
And it's the
before
same for the Conservative Party. Like, I'm
Yep.
not saying that they're any different either. They are very, I need to vote for the Conservative because they're not the Liberals. So
Mhm.
they don't
And
even care what he's going to have to say, right? They're
And I'm
just
just
going
going
to
to show this again very briefly, because
Again.
I show this every day. For me, this is all it
every
is.
2 days. Yeah.
For
Yep.
me, this is all it is. You see where Trudeau's stupid face here? That's when he was elected, literally 5 minutes after. Our economy has broke with the United States, and we went our own direction. They kept going up. That's all it is for me. It's just, you cannot reward that kind of performance, that kind of incompetence in a democracy, or you're going to incentivize that kind of performance.
Before you go, let me show one thing I wanted to show and I never got the chance to do, but it's
Okay.
interesting. Just because you showed that,
Yep,
you will
yep.
see that it connects directly to what you just showed. When did I show that? This was a couple of days ago. I never got the chance to show it, unfortunately, but there's a graph that actually shows exactly what, let me
Was
just
it the
share
one
my
with all
screen.
the countries and not just the U.S.?
No, that's another thing. So
That's
for you,
another
it's
one
the
too.
GDP. That's a big
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
For me, this is crime. This is our crime rate. So, and guess what?
Oh shit!
It was all the way up. This is
Oh,
when
shit.
Stephen Harper took over.
So they should
Over
put a
the
little
time-
Trudeau head right there at 20.
100%. So this is the
Yeah.
crime rate index. So it went all the way down. Around there is when Trudeau got elected, and crime rate are going up. So it's not just about the GDP.
Yeah, that's a good
Like,
point.
it's all over the place, man. If
Mhm.
you would look everywhere that it matters.
And again, though, like what you just showed there, that's not ideological either. Those are just facts. These are just like, the actual crime rate, the actual GDP. To me, that's why I'd like to see the election decided on. Just the facts, just the performance. How is the country done?
It's not going to happen because
know
people
it's
are
not.
too emotional. So
I know it's not. All right, so we'll go back to these. Fubar says, I don't think that's a problem unless you're in a hard left area. I forget what he's probably referring to. Fubar, if you can just remind us there. Melissa Lim. Melissa, good to see you again. You've been away for a few days. I mailed in my ballot 2 weeks ago. Let's go. Yeah, well, appreciate that. Thank you for doing your civic duty. I think it's important that we vote, or at least if you're going to not vote, be conscientious non-voter. Like, understand, kind of what we've talked about. It would be really nice to have that option. If you could say none of the above. I've looked at them all. I've taken the time to come down here and vote. I'm doing my duty as a citizen, and y'all, if this is the best you can do, count me the fuck out.
Yep.
Cheryl says, keep in mind we're in the middle of an information war. Yeah, I agree with that.
You missed the Cheryl one just above it.
Oh, yeah. Cheryl says the Liberals got a minority last election, so they don't have that much support. Yeah, and I think we're going to get a minority again.
But hold on, you got to be careful, because I got a video for you that will show you that if the Liberals do have a minority again, they will be able to do what the fuck Trudeau did for 10 years. So
interesting. What is that? Just through an agreement with the NDP?
I have a video of him yesterday explaining exactly that. So
Slave ID says, if the last few months taught me anything, everyone has an agenda, and I couldn't
Sure.
agree more. That is absolutely true.
You know, even we have an agenda, and we want you to like, comment, and follow.
Ooh, nice,
That's
nice
our
segue.
agenda.
That's our agenda.
Hello.
Yeah. If you guys if you guys like what we do here, please like and share. If you feel like there's a need for this kind of a show, as we do, then that's the best way you can help. And also, again, the other way you can help is just by engaging with us. You know, that's why we do this show live, and all these
Call
comments.
us out if you disagree. Don't. We're not here to rip it.
Pump our tires if you agree, and call us out if you don't. That's what we're here for. Fubard says, people in stores I talk to all sound lib. Then I see CPC signs on lawns, barely any lib signs. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. You know, people who are conservatives, I don't think they're talking about it as much, or at least, you know, hard conservatives will for sure. But a lot of people who are maybe on the fence or that centrist, that middle.
But the average conservative is not a real conservative in Canada either. A lot of their ideas are liberals, and just like you being the perfect example, you're not a conservative, but yet you would vote conservative because you cannot vote for the liberals.
Yeah,
but that doesn't make you a conservative.
No, exactly right. And you know, to be and I'm not super like, again, I'm not ashamed of it. Obviously I talk about it here on the show, but nor do I go around talking about it much either out in my real life. Fubar says Ford, oh hell no. That's interesting. If not Ford, just as a question for you guys.
Cheryl said the same thing.
Yeah, no, not Doug Ford. Hey, I'm just the messenger, guys. Fubar, oh shit. A full-on communist. Okay, I mean that's
what I'm saying. Like, that dude's a liberal. 100%. Doug Ford is not a conservative.
I'd be interested anyone who is on the right or a conservative or identifies that way. What's your guys' take on Ford? I mean, from what we're seeing so far, it doesn't seem very popular. But who else is out there? I think Danielle Smith, as you mentioned, is probably the front runner, and I think she checks a lot of boxes. You know, even down to the ones that don't matter, like the fact that she's a woman, right? That doesn't actually matter, but it does, right? It does in politics. It shouldn't.
If only she could be black.
Only she could be a lesbian woman, trans lesbian woman of color. Oh, buddy.
No, not trans, because a lot of religious people are going to vote for her.
Oh, that's right.
But a black woman, that is like as much DEI points as you're going to get from a conservative.
Yep, that's right.
That is a hard one to argue.
That's true. Fubar says, not so easy to move from provincial to federal. Ford or Smith would have to win an MP seat for starters. Yeah, I think, and I think, like, let's say hypothetically, just to go back to that scenario that Cheryl gave, where Poilievre loses his seat and the conservatives end up winning. First of all, it would be just fascinating just to see what would happen.
But that's the last thing we need, bro. We don't need more fuckery when it comes to. Can we just fucking fix the economy? Fuck all the fuckery. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but fuck this noise. Like, just fucking fix what we're doing, because we're hurting.
Oh yeah. It wouldn't be good, but it would be super interesting.
Stop smiling and stop calling it interesting. Stop.
It's super interesting, man. Bro, like, it'd be unprecedented.
I don't give a fuck.
Cheryl says, I agree with Nico about Danielle Smith. I actually do as well. I like Danielle Smith as far as
she's my favorite.
As far as I like any conservative, she seems like sort of no nonsense. And for the same reason as, again, I'm really not ideological. It's kind of why I like JD Vance, right? Like, I just like people that I like. I don't really care what side they're on.
Yeah, agree.
Fubar says, maybe it doesn't matter who wins. We'll all end up being 51st sooner or later. I mean, possibly. Personally, I hope not. I hope Canada stays Canada. But it's obvious it's out of my hands. It's not.
I'm hoping. The only thing that I'm hoping is that if Carney wins, that Trump had hinted in the past that he would allow Canadians to exchange their citizenship for American. He kind of had hinted at it.
Would you do it?
Oh, 100%. Fucking sign me up tomorrow. Oh, I'm done. Bye-bye.
Really, eh? Wow.
Oh, fuck. That would be an easy sell for me. I need 3. My wife, my kid, and myself.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. We're gone.
Huh.
No questions about it.
Interesting.
If you give me a Carney government, oh, fuck that noise.
I think there might be a lot of people who would follow you.
Because the thing is that the problem with the 51st state, and I talked about this on a massive podcast in the US, and the guy didn't realize that, but I'm like, do you really want to import 40 million liberals because even our conservatives are not conservatives.
Yeah, that's right.
So a vast majority of Canadians are very social oriented, as in they want social services. That makes you a liberal. That makes you a Democrat right off the bat in the
yeah,
US.
by the American standards.
So do you really want to import a state that is the size of California? It will destroy the electoral college. You will literally lose every single fucking election.
Yeah, I don't.
With the TDS syndrome that's up here. Jesus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So and the guy was looking. Nick Kumalatsos is looking at me. He's like, "Oh fuck yeah, that's true. We don't want that noise." So if there's one, in my opinion, if there's one place that the Americans could want is Alberta. Like if Alberta could figure out a way to separate and make a deal with the US, this to me would make sense as a 51st state. That one would make sense.
Well,
like that one I get. And if that happens, I'm fucking moving to Alberta just before it happens so that I can become American and move down there.
I feel like for the most part, Trump probably only even wants Canada for Alberta. So I mean,
that's my point. So
yeah, if he could do it that way.
Because you've heard in the past, like I've spoken to people out of Alberta, and they're like, "We are talking about there's movements going on right now.
Yeah, no, it's a legitimate thing."
And if the Liberals win, I guarantee you're going to start to see a massive push for Alberta to separate. And I get it. I fully understand it because they don't need us. We need them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think that's undeniable. We definitely need Alberta, and we have not treated them like that. We've treated them kind of shitty, very shitty.
As in we've been
very shitty. Yeah, and there's only so long that people. Yeah, you can treat people like that before they're going to be like, well, why are we even doing this? What's in it for me? Yep. And I think no matter who wins, I really think we should, all of Canada.
We need to do something for Alberta.
Yeah, we really should. We really need to get in that mindset because Alberta has, for the most part, been pretty stoic about it, but there's only so long you can treat people like that before something happens. Cheryl says, I got a letter from my Liberal MP equating Poilievre with Trump. Yeah, it's out there. It's stupid.
Nowhere close. Like it doesn't matter the way they look, the way they talk, their career, the points that they're trying to push. Like they have nothing in common whatsoever. I do not understand the comparison. And the worst part, and what makes me laugh about this is that if you could argue that Trump endorsed Carney, like you could argue that Trump actually said that he'd rather deal with Carney than he did at Pierre Poilievre, because that's what he said. But the dig was at Pierre Poilievre. It wasn't to endorse Carney. He was making fun of Pierre Poilievre, and it makes it sound like he was for Carney. But at the end of the day, if you had to associate Trump with a Canadian leader, it would be Carney. So the fact that they've been able to spin that shit, the fact that they've been able to remove that button that would have been a scandal on the right if it happened, is insane. Like this is how, to me, again, naive, lying with stupidity on the liberal side, on the lefty side in Canada, blows my mind. I do not understand how there's so many people that are like, oh, yeah, Carney replacing Trudeau's a great thing. He's going to change it. He's going to change what? The platform was written before you even fucking showed up. And you know, I asked for that video this week. You know why? Because I called somebody out on a massive post on X, and people were like, source. I'm like, hey,
here's your source. Yeah.
No, they all said it was bullshit. Because Pierre Poilievre posted the video from CBC, it's automatically wrong. It was taken out of context. It's wrong. I'm like,
there's no context. She just said that the platform was in place. She said he did some tweaks.
It doesn't matter. The fact that she works for the Liberal Party, that she said on camera on CBC that the platform was already established prior to him showing up. But just because Pierre Poilievre posted it, it makes it untrue. I'm like, God, how the fuck
you can't
life like that?
You can't. Those people are ridiculous. You can't. No. You can't engage with people like that. It is insane. Fubar says, "Got to go, boys. Glad I was able to pop in today. Praying it's not told cards on Monday. Glad you could come in. Remember, guys, we are going to do live election coverage for most, probably, let's say 7 Eastern time.
I'll call it 7 p.m.
7 p.m. and then Yeah, so just tune in here, and we're gonna have the live feed, and we're just gonna comment as it comes in. So you're not gonna need to go anywhere else. You're gonna get all the news.
Bring the
just by showing up.
popcorn, bring your cigars, bring your weed if you're a weed smoker.
Yeah,
I'm all good.
bring whatever you
Alcohol,
got.
by the way, obviously.
Yeah, Nico. Yes, Nico. JS says he will prop up. Jagmeet says he will prop up the Liberals. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. And Cheryl says, Nico, the banner at the top of the letter says "Stand up for Canada." I assume to the letter where your MP sent you that said, Poilievre is Donald Trump.
Like, did I make a fucking typo somewhere again? Look at my screen. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So we've got so that we're cleared out with the comments. So
let's do some videos, man, because we can finish with the CBC. We've did such a in-depth. I don't think that anybody here is unaware of their platform. So how about we just show some of the videos? Did you find some stuff for the Mr. Carney? Some videos of what he's saying right now, like what's his last message to the voter?
So he didn't really have a like a last message, and maybe that's coming, but I've got just some stuff that I do have from Carney that I sort of thought was at least relatively interesting. So this is probably the closest that I could find regarding like his final message, his final thing.
But no, but what I meant by final is just what's the last thing that he's saying? Because because people are going into the weekends, and I can tell you that social media is the less used Saturday and Sunday. So if you have a message right now, this is the day to make it, because Friday is one of the
that's true too, eh?
So that's what I meant by that. So
this is Carney talking about the government is spending too much, investing too little. It's only 23 seconds. And I find it interesting because they will, in the platform, we kind of picked up on this too. Whenever they talk about, things that need to change, they'll never say the liberal. They'll say the federal government. The federal government has done, like with immigration, said the federal government has allowed too many immigrants in since COVID. Well, no, motherfucker. The Liberal Party is the federal government. So it's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth a little bit, kind of talking out of your ass a little bit. But this is kind of more the same.
Because the government has been spending too much and Canada has been investing too little. Let me draw that out. Day-to-day government spending, the government's operating budget, has been growing by 9% every year for years. That's more than twice the rate of growth of our economy.
And it's like, okay, bud, like I agree with you completely, but like your solution is to vote for the exact same party that's been doing it. I don't I don't know how that's kind of like how that's going to fix it. It's just such a weird argument. They're basically saying, yeah, things are really fucked up, and I'll vote. We're the only ones that can fix it. But it's like, no, motherfucker, you're the ones who did it. Of course, you're not the one to fix it. Here is this one. This is from the other day, or from yesterday. I didn't like it's just him talking about the Americans, and I didn't like this. He says they desire, the Americans and the president, to own us. Like, I don't like how he. Here, I'll let him talk first.
And the president to own us. Those aren't just words. That's a desire, and the ability of Canada to stand strong, build our own, control our destiny.
I feel like that's just really inflammatory way. Like the Americans, like even if you wanted to say Trump desires to own us, like, okay, it's still inflammatory. Okay, maybe you have a argument. Maybe I wouldn't talk like that, but to say the Americans, because most Americans, especially the ones like we've talked to, like I don't believe that they are against us. I don't believe that they're our enemy, and I don't believe that they see us as their enemy. But it's kind of like that divisive rhetoric that Carney's doing here. He's trying to create an enemy out of America.
All he got, but that's all he got.
And I that's not good. It's not good it's not accurate for one. It's like, it's wrong, but it's really bad for the country. It's not, I don't like this divisive campaign that Carney's running. And like you said, it is all he has. He really doesn't have anything else. It's just, it's like we said when the tariffs threat kind of died down a little bit, or not died down, but like there was some movement on it a week or two ago, and we were like, what the fuck, where does he go from here? You know, what is he going to do? And I've got one more clip of him talking about tariffs, where he says,
cards. The kids wrote about tariffs and threats to our sovereignty. And those are words I had not met at their age. Those are words I did not know when I was 9 and 10 years old. And I'm going to quote one of them. I dream of a safe,
definitely a real quote,
a kind, and a clean Canada.
because he's got to throw the
clean
climate change
part in there.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I played that, because like, fuck off. There's no 10-year-old
But-
who's talking like that, who's thinking like
But
that.
you know, it goes back to the conversation that we've had time and time again, you and I, and there's no kids that are trans. It's just ideology that's pushed by their
Absolutely.
parents. The same
Absolutely.
thing here.
Same thing
Don't
there.
tell me that you're not the one causing such responses. Like, you're making it sound like Trump is causing this, but you won't stop blaming him for all our problem. You're the one that's being decisive,
Yeah.
that's trying to divide the nation, and they're like, oh no, but it's not me, it's him, bro. Like, that's the parent. Those are very liberal parent that
Oh
are
yeah.
telling that to their kids. Like, okay, so your kid's 9 years old, awesome. What the fuck is he doing with a cell phone? Why is he on YouTube?
Yeah.
Why is he watching the news? So basically, you're allowing this to happen, or you're talking about it to your children, or your teachers are talking about it to the kids. Who is it? I don't know, but you are to blame. This is a very liberal mentality to play the victim when
Bring your
you're the
kids
one
into
causing
it.
the problem. No, but
Yeah.
you're the one doing it. And then
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
"Oh,
Well,
I'm such a victim." No, bitch, it's your
and-
fault.
And you see that everywhere. It's like with the carbon tax rebate, right? He removed the carbon tax, or a portion of it, and then wanted, you know, accolades and to do a victory lap. But it's like, motherfucker, you're the one who did it. Your side is the one who put the tax on. It's like,
Yep.
you know, punching someone in the face and then stop punching them and expect them to be grateful. Like, yeah, I guess.
You
in
know
some
what,
ways-
bro? At least I didn't elbow you.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just got my
right?
fist. You didn't get my
Yeah,
elbow.
exactly.
Thanks a
Right?
lot.
Elbows up. Wise
oh,
guy
shit,
666 says,
That
"Hi
was
guys."
actually I didn't say
Yeah.
that on purpose, by the way. I just like to elbow people.
Yeah,
But-
just for a laugh. Says, "Hi guys from the Ottawa Valley. I enjoy your podcast. 67-year-old male here. I believe we are experiencing the massive birth pains of the North American Union." Well, first of all, great to see you. Great to have you on the show, and it's always great having new commentators. And I think that's an interesting point. You know, it's obviously still too early to say, but we definitely have talked on the show a little bit about perhaps some sort of a, you know, like I don't want us to be the first state. I want to be Canada. You know, I that is what I want. But could there be value in a sort of like the European Union has done it? You know, a common currency, maybe a common border.
I would take
policy?
the American economy over ours.
Yeah, it could be very.
That's
yeah.
a good way. I didn't think
Yeah,
about
it's-
that way. That's
yeah,
a good point.
And maybe that is because obviously we have and it will kind of go to what we were talking about yesterday, whereas the big problem I see with the Liberals and the reason why the economy is stagnated underneath them so much is, yes, their policies, but their policies come from a worldview and a mindset, and essentially that worldview is such that they think it's immoral and wrong to exploit our natural resources, even if you do it in a clean and sustainable and responsible
right.
way, which I do think
Yeah.
we should. I do think we should do that in a clean and responsible and sustainable way. However, that's what they're there for. That is how nations, especially a nation like us, which is built like blessed with riches of natural resources. If your policy is to not exploit them, what the fuck? Like, we're not a manufacturing nation. You know, we don't have like the professional services that America does. Essentially, that's all we got. That's our superpower, is our natural resources. And any government who's fundamentally shares a worldview that it is wrong to exploit them. Okay, if you believe that, that's one thing, but you have to accept that we are going to be essentially what we saw for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
Essentially stagnating economy. We're going to be poor. If that is what you want, if you're willing to do that, then that's fine. But like, understand that is the trade-off for your policies. Don't tell me that we can have that kind of a worldview and still be a thriving, prosperous nation, because we can't. You got to choose one. It's one way or the other.
You're bang on, brother. I couldn't agree with you more. You want to take his his other comment? We'll start with some Pierre Poilievre videos.
Yes, we would still be in Canada in name, but part of a three-way economic union with a new digital currency.
I like
it's essentially like the EU.
I don't like
right?
the digital, but
I mean that's debatable for
I
sure.
like that idea. I like that idea, but
essentially
I think
like the
right.
EU. France is still France. Germany's still Germany, but they have a shared currency.
He's right.
Yeah,
but I think he's right in a way that
shared
is going to become strong.
Yeah.
No, but it's going to become a strong message. And you know what? Maybe that's been Trump's plan all along by calling it the 51st state, that he wants to do like a European Union, except a North American Union between Mexico, Canada, and the US. And you know what? I'd be okay with it. I don't know that the US would want it that much, because you know that if you have your EU, like let's say my wife has her Italian passport, that means that she can live in whatever country that's part of the EU. Like she's able, her having a citizenship there, that means she could go to France, she could go to the UK, she could go pretty much anywhere and stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be careful what you wish for, right? Again, do you really want to add a 40 million liberal that might want to go down south? I don't know. I do not know.
Yeah.
But as Wise Guy saying, I would be okay with it.
I certainly would be. I certainly would be interested in hearing the like a
cool
real
idea.
debate. Yeah, it's a cool.
I never thought about it. I always had like the hard line, like we stay Canadian, I become American as a Canadian, or we become the 51st state. But having kind of an EU type of economy,
it'd be interesting.
I like it. Sure. We got some smart
commenters. Yeah, absolutely.
Good for you, brother.
That's always been one of the things I've really liked about this show is the audience.
Yeah.
They definitely have some great ideas and some great comments. And keep them coming.
I agree. So let's see. I have Pierre Poilievre. I found a video. It's about him talking. He was on Jasmine Lane's podcast. Well, podcast. I don't know if you call it a podcast or show. She recorded a 30-minute video interview with him that was released this week. She is a conservative. Obviously, she supports the Conservative Party. But here's a video, because that's about as good as you're going to see from Pierre Poilievre. He talks about the points that the Liberal got wrong about him. So this, to me, for the Liberal voters out there, listen to this.
Yep.
Does that move the needle? Is my question.
Let's talk about the experience that he and I have both had over the last 5 years. He supported hiking the carbon tax. He was wrong. I supported axing it. I was right. He supported massive inflationary spending. In fact, he said inflation would be a, quote, good scenario for a country in 2021, June 3rd.
It's in a committee, it's in a finance committee where you're calling him out, you're predicting inflation.
And people are lined up at food banks because of that decision. My experience was saying, no, we're going to end up with an inflation crisis if we keep printing money. He opposed pipelines. He was wrong about that too, and I was right about it. And so I guess I would ask is if he has such great experience, then how is it that he keeps getting all of the important issues that affect people's lives so wrong? And if he's been so wrong for so long, how could he have the right experience to govern us in the future? I'm proud of my experience. I stood up for all the things that we agree we need to do now are the things I've been fighting for all along. So my experience is in doing what needs to be done.
Interesting.
You know, for the people out there, does that move the needle for you? If you're not a Pierre Poilievre voter and you hear him talk about me, does that move the needle for you? Because it might not. I call bullshit on what he said, as in, you didn't stand up for me when they were forcing lockdowns on me. You didn't stand up for me when I was protesting in the street against the whoop whoop. You didn't stand up for the freedom truckers. So you can sell that bullshit now because you do know that people have a short memory. But at the same time, he's not a real conservative. So can I really blame him for not standing up for real people? No, I can't. So, you know, Does
Yeah.
that move the needle? I don't know. What do you think? If as a liberal that's considering voting for him, does that work for you? Is that a good? Would you give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or just like nothing?
I give it a slight thumbs up. I don't know that it
So
would move.
a soft thumbs up.
Yeah, like a half. Like you get a semi.
So a semi-hard
You
on,
kind of you got to grab the base of it and just to shove it in.
but it's soft in the middle.
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
wobbly.
Yeah, a little wobbly, but yeah, it's enough. It's enough, and that's.
So
I think that's how I
it's
see
not
it.
bad. It's not
Yes,
bad.
it's not bad. I certainly don't find it a turn off. I mean, I like when he points out, where Carney was wrong. Like you said, like even when he's like, I was like, well, yeah, okay, on those issues, maybe, yeah. There's probably a lot of issues that he could have been more vocal about. Maybe some of the ones that you mentioned. I think it's also easy to when you're in the opposition to just say whatever the party in power does and oppose that, and then when it doesn't work out, say, hey, I was right. It doesn't necessarily mean that you would have had the right idea if you were the one in charge. It just means you were in the opposition. But it doesn't, I didn't find it bad. It seems like pretty typical politics fare. You call out your opponent for getting it wrong. I mean, one thing that kind of stood out to me as I watched this is like, yeah, I don't really like the guy as a politician. I mean, personally, maybe he's a nice guy in private. I don't know. Don't really give a shit. As a politician, I think he's never going to seem, you keep talking about him being like a weak leader. And I think that's how I see him. I think that's how the majority of Canadians see him. I don't see him as overly strong. One thing, the biggest thing he's got going for him is that he's not the Liberals. He's not, he's not Mark Carney. And for me, that's enough. I don't know if it's going to be enough for other people. I'm kind of surprised he didn't go on the economy that hard.
Yeah, but because his plan is nowhere, he's saying he's going to cut by 70%, but doesn't show us where, doesn't tell us how, doesn't have a plan. Plus, he praised. That's one of the things I was seeing this morning from a commentator, and he's been praising that he's going to balance the budget. He's been throwing it back in Justin Trudeau's face for years now.
Yeah.
Yet his platform has no plan.
No plan to balance the budget.
Balancing out, except outside of 70%, cutting our losses by 70%. So he's not talking that he's not going to be 30% in the hole. That's big. If you say, oh, we're going to be 70% better, yeah, that means you're still 30% in the hole. So you're not balancing the budget. So that's probably why, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like, you're never, for me, I mean, I know for some people, you have to like the guy that you're voting for. He has to win your vote. For me, I am more of a pragmatist. I approach politics in a lesser of two evils. And I know that, I know the saying, lesser of two evils is still evil. And I understand why people don't want to approach politics that way, but that is how I do it. And so for me, that's where it is. Like, that chart that we showed a few minutes ago with the GDP, I don't know why he doesn't have that blown up on a fucking billboard and just, like Billboard Chris, and just fucking walk around like that everywhere he goes. For me,
I strongly
is.
believe that he does not have the balls to do the right things. And this is why, again, he is trying. So, hey, perfect example. Yesterday, I went to see a comedy show. Somebody that was interesting, but you'll understand why I'm bringing this up. But somebody that follows me on Instagram, like he's a comedian from Quebec that has been around for 35 years. I used to watch him growing up. Yeah. And about a year ago, he started following me on Instagram, and he sends me 10 to 20 videos a week. Just, hey, bro, did you see this? Did you see that? Did you see this? Did you see that? And I was kind of starstruck the first time he started following me and sending me shit. I'm like, oh, Jesus. That dude follows me. That's so fucking cool. But he invited me to his show. He does a lot of European show, like he's French. But now he's in Canada. He's from Montreal. So we went to his show yesterday, my wife and I. He comped the tickets. We got to meet him backstage afterwards. Yeah. And during his show, it's funny because he was saying, yeah, the vibe that I got here, and we're in Laval, and he's like, it was not as exciting as my other shows that I've done over the past couple of weeks. Like people
Mhm.
weren't as, but the first thing that I got when I sat down, we were at the top, like we were in the lodge in the top, so we could see everybody, and it looked like a Carney rally. The people that were there, because he's been around for years. His comedies for older people, his references are for older people too.
Yep.
As
Okay.
in 30 and above, right? And he starts making fun of Justin Trudeau. And he starts like making fun of Justin Trudeau, calling him a puppet. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna play Justin Trudeau," and he's just like, "Hello, my name is Justin Trudeau," and he's just acting like the guy was actually really fucking funny.
Okay.
But this is the thing, right? He started to make fun of Justin Trudeau. Then backstage, he told me, he's like, "Yeah, you know, we didn't get the same energy, but this is what we're getting now. This is what we're getting, like that, man, like that very meh energy when it comes to liberal. They don't want you to make fun of anybody." And
Oh, yeah.
do you see where I'm going? This
Yeah.
is what we're seeing in Canada. Like that TDS is through the roof. The
Mhm.
liberals are through the roof. I
Yep.
like to hear somebody like you talk about how you will not vote for somebody based on feelings, but you're such a fucking exception.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked, like, you look at guys like Pierre Poilievre that are doing this, and obviously that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to hit people in the feelings,
Mhm.
but he's not that likable in the
No,
first
no,
place.
that's right.
He's not there. He's
I
not
don't
very
think-
good at it.
No,
He's
no,
not
I
good
think,
at it.
I think that's a good point. That's not his strength, right? That if he were a more charismatic guy, then yeah, you could go something like that. But like, fuck the feelings part, because you don't have that
Yeah.
that likability. Go for facts. Go for like,
Yep.
listen,
My-
here's
Exactly.
yeah.
This is exactly, and this is why it bottles my mind, just like you. Why did he not print that and have it
fucking carry it
and
everywhere.
every day reshare? No, on all of
And
his
that
platform,
chart you
every day
showed,
reshare
and
it.
that chart you showed, have them fucking side by side. The economy's
Yeah.
in the shitter, crime's through the
The
roof.
crime rate.
What more do you need?
Look at the curve. The last conservative government took it down. The last government took care of the 2008 fucking recession that the US had. We
Yep.
didn't go through the same thing. Why? Because it was a conservative government. As soon as Trudeau took, boop, everything,
Yeah.
GDP goes down,
and they
crime
both,
rate
they both
goes up.
happened immediately, like 5 minutes after he took office. Like you
Little
can't.
animation that shows twiggling it down, going
Yeah.
back up, going
Yeah,
back
no.
up. It's
Just it's that's all you need to do. That's it. On the right, we
and you
got
just
crime.
repeat that
On the left,
right,
the economy.
left, right.
Any
Yeah,
questions? Right. That's it.
that's it.
It's,
And that's
it's,
all you say.
It's
Day
so
in,
easy.
day out. That's
It's
it.
so
But he
easy.
chose
That's
not
right.
to. That's
You
why
hammer
I
it
can't
again and again, and you're right. That's exactly. And it makes you frustrated, and it makes you, I don't necessarily believe he's, I've heard like the theories, like conspiracy theories, like, oh, he's not trying to win, he's just there
he's controlled opposition.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe that, but stuff like that makes you wonder. Fuck, wow, like
It's
I
hard
want-
not to consider it, even if you don't
Yeah,
believe that that's
fair,
the case.
fair, yeah.
You cannot tell me that it's impossible that it would. No, if I look at him and it came out 5 years from now that he was indeed controlled opposition, I'm like, yep, I see that.
Yeah,
I believe. I
yeah.
would believe it. No problem. It wouldn't be a hard sell.
Absolutely. So Wise Guy says, sorry, I'm wondering why Pierre isn't hammering Carney with the fact that he hasn't lived here in 20 years and identifies himself as European. Another one, right?
Or
Like,
American. He likes
yeah.
to bash Trunch, but his business is down south.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's so like
Yeah.
it makes, as you said, he's trying to not lose, and that's a recipe to lose. No matter what you do, that in any scenario. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going. Hey, what's up,
Okay.
Nicole?
Yeah,
I like your
Nicole. Yeah, that's Nico on the weekends. That's he identifies as Nicole.
That is me actually from my other laptop.
Yeah, that's
I'm just
that's a burner account. Nicole's the conservative. Nicole, I think this might be your first time chiming in. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here, and hopefully you stick around. Wise Guy, enough to disqualify him as an option. I assume he's just adding on to what he was saying
I
there before. I
imagine so.
mean, yeah, I think, yeah, to me, it's just here. Yeah, it's like, here's the performance of the Liberals in the last 10 years. And by the way, Carney, he said he parachuted in here just for this election.
so easy.
To me,
Such
it
an
writes
easy sell.
itself. Once you establish these facts, you don't even need to sell it. Just let the facts do the
Yeah.
talking. And Nicole says Canadians are voting for conservative. I mean, the polling certainly doesn't say that, but there are other indicators that the polling might be wrong. So, we will certainly.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
and
I
remember,
don't get
guys.
how he didn't do it properly. Like to me, he's like, it just looks like he's throwing it.
Yeah, it's like so. I still, I just can't accept that he would intentionally lose. However, if he were trying to intentionally lose, he would
He's
probably
doing a great
do.
job.
He would probably
Exactly
do all
what
the
he's
things that
doing,
he's
yeah.
doing. Yeah. So I mean, pick your poison. I don't know. It is a very, it's kind of mind boggling. But guys, if you're out there, remember we are going to do a live election coverage here at 7
Yep.
Eastern on Monday. So yeah, all you got to do is jump on here and jump on with us, and we will be you're going to get all the coverage that you want. You don't need to go anywhere else because we're going to have it being played here, and of course you're going to get our hilarious commentary as we go. So yeah, you definitely want to mark your calendar for that.
And your comments will be shown on screen. Like we want to engage with you.
Yep.
We want to make it like a watching party almost.
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of you
It's going to be
watching
even
it by
more
yourself.
informal. Even more
Yep.
informal
Oh,
than,
yeah.
than the show.
Yeah.
We're just going to kind of shoot the shit. We're
Yep.
gonna, everyone's gonna. If you watch the debate coverage, it was kind of like that, and that was
That's
actually
exactly
it was
what we want to do.
a lot of fun.
I had a blast. So, Nicole, I hope you're right that Canadians are voting for conservative. I hope you're right. That's what I believe is going to happen too. If I had to put money down, that's exactly what I think. It's just I find it unfortunate that it wasn't more of a clear-cut win because he had so much chances to be more. And for somebody that knows people within his party, that's supposedly his intention. He just does not want to lose. And as a fighter, that bothers me. Not losing, winning, like trying to do something to not to lose instead of doing it to win.
Yeah,
Very
I don't
massive
like it.
differences, and it shows me something in your personality that I don't like.
Yeah,
That
that loser mentality.
I don't like it.
You don't want it in a leader.
And wise guys saying that I have a
Whoa.
feeling that we will see a clear
Now
conservative
that
majority.
is a bold.
To be
bold
honest,
prediction.
it would not surprise me in the slightest. It would not surprise me.
I would
at
be
all.
surprised by a majority on either side, to be honest. But I would not be surprised to see the Conservatives win. There's something tells me the polling is not.
Oh no, they're winning. In my head, they're winning. Like I have
Yeah.
out there, they're winning. If they're losing, I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all because everything is showing me that you cannot be that close in polling on a very leftist poll system and not be dominating for real. Because
Yeah.
obviously they're so again, it's like you went on a Fox News poll.
Yep.
And they were equal. You're like, ooh, there's a problem. If Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were that equal on a Fox News poll, you know that something's wrong. But everything you're looking at today from Canada is a leftist poll. So,
Yeah.
Brookfield scammer, we don't need them. Obviously, you're talking about Mr. King Carney.
Mhm.
Nico, if Pierre Poilievre was intentionally trying to lose, then maybe we would have already been taken over by China.
Maybe we have already been taken over by China.
Oh shit! Yeah. Oh, that's a
Yeah.
very good point. That's a very. Again, do I believe that that's what's going on? I'm not sure, but I have thought about it, and it would not surprise me at all. It's just I can see so many ways for him to have ran his campaign in an extremely successful way. That wouldn't have been hard. If he had the courage that I have, if he has the balls that I have to just say what needs to be said and to not apologize for it, he would have won that hands down. It wouldn't have been a hard sell. It would have been super easy to win if he really wanted to. And again, as an old sales engineer, I deconstructed. I created solution based on knowing what the end result should be. And as you said earlier, if the end result for him is to be a proper opposition, like a controlled opposition, what he has done would have been a very good way to make that happen. That doesn't mean that that's what's happening, but is it that hard of a sell? Fuck no. I could believe that in a second that was the case, right?
Yep. A wise guy says, remember Trump was supposed to lose to Kamala. And yeah, I mean, we discussed that at the beginning of the show. The polls in both 2016 and 2024 severely estimated his support. So that's clearly what happened. That's clearly polling is broken down south. The
Well,
question
you know why,
now
though,
is,
right? It's because they don't have cell phones. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. People that vote for Trump, they don't have cell phones. I'm sorry.
yeah, exactly right. They're all just living in the
So-
woods, no
oh,
internet, all in the sticks. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the same dynamic.
I
applies
believe
up
it
here.
100%. I think he's
I
bang
can
on.
definitely see it.
Bang
Yeah,
on.
I can definitely see
I
it.
think Kawhi's got this is exactly what I've been saying for a month is that he's dominating right now. We're not just seeing it because it's going to be the same as Trump. This is
Yep.
exactly what I see too.
Yep. Nicole says China interference goes back years. Yeah, no, absolutely. They've got a lot. They're playing a long game. They have, they know what they want to do, and they're
We
executing.
talked about that before. Right? They've been playing a long game since the 70s, man. So
Yep, that's
since
right.
the 70s, so it's been a long time.
That's right.
I found another video that just came up on Pierre Poilievre.
Okay.
I have not seen it, but just from the front, it looks very interesting. And the caption is basically saying a decade of soft on crime liberal policies have let repeat violent offenders loose on the street. A new conservative government will keep repeat violent criminals behind bars to stop the crime and bring home safe streets. Vote for a change, vote conservative. And this is the video that's attached to that caption. So
Majinpur. He's been in and out of jail 14 times for serious charges like assault with a weapon. His typical prison sentence? 1 day. His most recent violent offense, for which he faced basically no consequences, was a random attack on an innocent girl on a street in British Columbia where he bashed her head in with a pipe, yelling racist remarks. Nice guy. He spent 1 day in prison and was released. Where's her justice? This is not an accident. It is the result of decisions made by the Liberal government. Policy changes mandate courts and judges release these people back onto the streets. This is the system operating perfectly as designed, and that is an injustice. This is just one example of what's happening across Canada.
Suspects in a brazen and terrifying.
Pierre Poilievre has been crystal clear. We will put an end to the lost Liberal decade of violent crime and criminals running rampant without fear of consequence or the rule of law. Because that's putting Canada first for a change.
So where was
Final
this?
fucking Lee.
Where
what
was
the fuck
this?
was he waiting for?
Where was this?
This is
for the
exact-
yeah, idiot,
Bro,
nonsense.
I've never seen this video until now. I just really downloaded it as we were speaking. Where the fuck was that for the past month, Pierre Poilievre? Do
Yeah.
one on economy, do one on gun violence, do one on not on gun violence, on high crimes.
High crime.
Do it
Yeah,
on the GDP. You had 100 of those.
the economy, crime. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. Like economy in the shitter 5 minutes after Trudeau got elected. Crime way up. Started about 5 minutes after Trudeau got elected. What the fuck else do you need? You don't need anything else. The political ads write themselves. That's the first one that I saw this entire election that actually felt like it might move the needle. That's the first thing I've ever heard Poilievre or his campaign say or do that I thought might actually convince someone, rather than the rest of us who even have decided to vote for Poilievre. It's just hold your nose because he's, we know the Liberals we know what they'll do because they've just done it for 10 years. Well, may as well give the other guy a shot. That's sort of my mentality. But by no means have I saw anything that made me feel like, yes, that makes me want to vote for this guy.
And exactly like Melissa is saying, great ad.
Yeah.
Where was this? All you
Wild.
had to do were facts and emotional videos like
Yep.
this.
You don't
Done,
need the
plain and
ideology.
simple, you would have won that election hands down. But you chose to be a liberal instead of going after the liberals. What the fuck were you waiting?
It boggles the mind. It really just, it's not hard. It's bread and butter issues, right? People care about the economy. They care about being safe. That's
Great video.
probably the
that was
biggest
a
two
great
ads.
ad. That was a
Yeah.
great ad. That's the
Yep.
best ad I've seen out of the Conservative Party as
It's
ever.
the whole
probably, like,
election. The whole
ever.
election. That's the
Yep.
first ad or speech or anything I've seen come out of them that made me think that's gonna move the needle.
And man,
yeah.
he could have been doing that for a month now, and I would have played every single one. I would have commented on every single one. I would have made videos about every single one. And I'm
that's
just
smart.
one conservative content creators. Imagine all the people out there, they would have fucking pushed that. This is the type of shit that massive American accounts that are Republicans or more conservative would have shared. That would have gone viral everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yet,
Oh yeah.
where the fuck was this for the last month?
Like that chart you
4
showed
days in.
just a few minutes ago about crime. That's the first I'd seen it. Like I have a sense that crime has gone up, but I didn't know the stats around it. I didn't know the numbers. When you see it, the way you do you have it right handy there, or is it gone? Just to bring it up one more quick second.
No, I think I still. Oh no, I save everything so I can bring it.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Just one more, because again, what was 2014 when Trudeau got elected?
2015.
Yeah, it's not like it literally happened 5 minutes after he got elected for the first time. It's same as the economy. The economy went to the shitter, literally, fucking 5 minutes after he got elected. What I would have liked seeing that, see right here, 2014, literally, as soon as Trudeau takes office, violent crime spikes.
This is literally 2006 is when Stephen Harper came in. Conservative government for years until end of 2014. Trudeau gets in power,
and then violent crime.
And you look at the GDP, it's the complete opposite. Go up as a conservative. Trudeau gets in power, flat lines.
So, flat lines. Yeah. Well, the rest of the developed world goes up, leaves us in the dust.
Not only would he have been able to push the fact that he would be the solution, but he could put the fact that he worked in government with Stephen Harper when the last conservative government has been in place. Do you guys remember 2008 and how the recession hit everywhere in the world? I was part of the party that saved our economy. While look at the numbers that we had. This is the last conservative government. Look at what Trudeau and the Liberals done. And by the way, Carney was Trudeau's helper on the economy from 2021. Look at what's happened. I promise you to do the same thing that we did. We will start up here when it comes to crime. We will bring it down. We are down here when it comes to GDP. We will do exactly what we did last time and go back up. Plus, Harper endorsed him last week. So,
yes.
Man, it writes itself.
It's bread and butter stuff. It's not rocket science, man. And it boggles the mind how they haven't figured this out. On that ad, honestly, the only thing I would have changed is, that part where they show it looked like a piece of a document from actual liberal policies, and they have highlighted exactly where they said something like offenders should be released at the earliest possible moment or under conditions that are like as easy as possible. I would have had that on during the commercial for like a solid 10 or 15 seconds so everyone can really get a good read on that, because like it shows you that it isn't just coincidence. These are results of actual policies that are put in place. Like there's a direct line between things the Liberals are doing and crime going up.
This Cheryl is saying here, keep in mind, this is a snap election. Usually they have much more time to prepare. Cheryl, I create content every day, brand new content every single day. I never know what news I'm going to be talking about, because I talk about the news. We talk about the news here. This is not an excuse. And I'm alone. I'm a one guy person. And I can make millions of views every month with me, myself. So don't
people that are being paid to do it.
All the chances. He could have contacted me a month ago. I could have given him a platform to run for a month within a day. I would have told him, those are the issue you focus on. Go. If I'm able to find all that information, they have teams. They have millions of taxpayers' money. I think it's 20, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Don't call me out on this, but I believe that he had a $20 million
they have money
budget.
You could put smart people in a room like that do this kind of stuff, and they could have had that ad cut up in a couple of hours.
I could have told you, if you don't have those people, you should have told me. I could have simply showed you how to do this. This is not complicated. Those videos, I can make off my fucking cell phone. There's nothing special about that video. I can literally find everything, put it together with my cell phone as I'm sitting outside smoking a cigar. So don't tell me that massive teams that have millions of dollars can do this. Like, if they can't, they're the problem.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically just weaponized incompetence at this point. And yes, I understand. Like, it definitely, yes. Like the snap election will affect some things, but I don't know. I feel like that's giving him too much of a pass to cut him some slack on that issue.
Yep. Harper and the police have endorsed Pierre. Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, he has all the key components to have ran a campaign that was amazing, but chose not to. Like, I don't understand it. And he had all the power to make guys like me believers. I had high hopes. As much as I don't like him as a person, he could have showed me some backbone. He could have showed me that he stood up for something. And he had all the ingredients to do it. All he had to do is to use those fucking ingredients, and he chose not to. And now he's going to start doing it over the weekend when there's 3 days left. Like, come on. That right there tells me that he's been scared to lose the whole way. The whole way through, he was scared to lose. That's all I can see. We're running out of time, though. I got 4 videos I wanted to show. Jackman Singh, and I'm going to show some of Maxime
We don't even have
Bernier.
to do this BBC clip. I mean, we could maybe talk about that.
We can't. Either way, we don't have the time, but
that's fine.
it's okay. I think we did such a detailed one yesterday.
Monday. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's true. We could actually
talk
go
about
through that on Monday.
coverage.
Although, is it going to be at that point? Is it going to be a little too late, considering that? Where did that go? Hold on, because I found a brand new video from what's his name, Jagmeet Singh, kind of showing his hypocrisy again. Because, man, that guy. So here is a new message. I haven't not heard it yet, but I just downloaded it from, because I follow Jagmeet Singh on X, because I follow them all.
Yeah.
And here's a video he just posted. So I don't know what it's about, but it's probably as good as it gets. But here is NDP leader Jagmeet Singh.
I say this with respect and a little bit sadly, but never trust a liberal. The only way, and proven by our history, liberals do the right thing are when New Democrats force them to do it. It's the facts. It's the facts. Literally, the only time they ever do what's right is when we force them, and it's the facts. You know, we've got so many examples. They promised pharmacare for 3 decades, 30 years. They promised it. And by coincidence, it was only when we forced them to do it that we saw the first steps happen. It's not coincidence. It's because we forced them.
You don't have the power to force them to do anything, you Jagmeet Singh. Like, nobody doesn't have the power. You've never held government. You have like 5 elected officials, or I'm exaggerating, obviously, but you don't have the power to do any of that.
I think that the NDP definitely has leverage far beyond their seats, just because I believe at least in the most recent minority government, if they didn't support the Liberals, they had enough to call for a vote of no confidence. So, that in some ways he's correct, but in my opinion, that just shows the weakness of the Liberal Party. That they're basically at the beck and call of the NDP if they want to stay in power.
But you know what's interesting about that, though? Is that this I found during the show. And I was mistaken. It's not Jagmeet Singh that posted it. It was Juno News, because obviously I follow Juno News. But this is from within the last couple of hours. The real video I wanted to show you is what he said yesterday. And it's fucking ironic that he just said that you can't trust a liberal, because here's a video explaining what he would do in order to uniparty again with the Liberal Party.
A lot about what your offer is. Can you tell us what your red lines would be if there is a minority government and the Liberals are the party with the most seats in the House? What are the the non-negotiable things from your platform that you would tell Mark Carney, if you want to remain prime minister, these are the things you need to do?
Well, we laid out some of these priorities already in one of our announcements, but I can lay them out again. The key priorities we have that we need to see action on in this next budget is that we cannot have any cuts to our healthcare. We're not going to stand for any cuts to healthcare. That's just not allowed. You can't cut healthcare in a time of a healthcare crisis. Like here in Alberta, people are going through a healthcare crisis. Imagine how much worse that would be with over $28 billion in cuts at the federal level. I mean, that would be devastating to our healthcare. What would that mean to nurses and doctors and family physicians where there's already such a shortage? So no cuts to healthcare.
Carney has never spoken about cutting on healthcare.
Yeah, I didn't know where he was going with that. I don't even think Poilievre has talked about cutting healthcare.
The only thing he could be alluding to is something Poilievre said. That's it. So as much as on video today, he's like, don't trust a liberal. What do you need in order to vote with the liberals? Don't cut on healthcare. They never said anything about healthcare. Bro, come on. How do
I feel like he's trying to just stay relevant. So Nicole says Pierre is defending CBC. Do you mean defunding or defending? Because those are two very different things, and all it is one little letter. I think I'd be interested to see, to see if you meant to say he's defending CBC or if he is defunding them. Wise Guy says, I think Jagmeet is going to go down hard.
I completely agree. That guy's gonna hopefully he loops up on Monday because it's gonna suck. It's gonna really hurt. It's gonna hurt because I don't see he's not stealing anybody from the liberals. On the contrary, I think that the people that would have voted for the NDP will vote liberal because they're scared of mini Trump Pierre Poilievre.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably right.
Like the Green Party is going to disappear.
The same dynamic as the PPC. The vote splitting issue, I think, is working on both.
Oh yeah, May's gonna disappear. Like it's projected that she won't even win her riding.
Good.
So the Green's gone, the NDP's gone. Then I don't like it because the PPC maybe they'll win a seat. I hope they do. But then the PPC could be zero. So basically, it's gonna be like in the US, two-party system.
Yeah.
And if it's a minority government, that means nothing's going to happen over the next 4 years.
Yeah, basically. Pretty much. I mean, if it's a liberal, if the liberals, maybe that's a good thing.
Well, we'll see. We shall see. But I got two more videos I wanted to show because as much as he wasn't allowed to debate, I'm still going to give Maxime Bernier a chance to kind of show what he stands for. And I will start with hold on, I got a link somewhere. I got a video. He released that today. So let's see what he was saying. And he was in front of a crowd all in purple too. I'm a big fan of purple, by the way, the color. Love the color, but yeah. Here's Maxime Bernier.
Vote for what you believe. Vote for what you believe. Vote for yourself. If you want to live in a free and a prosperous country, you have the only choice. The only choice is the People's Party of Canada, because we are putting you first and our country first. So our time is critical right now. I was saying that 2 years ago in the 2019 election. I was saying that we need to fight for our freedom. We need to have a smaller government that will respect people, respect taxpayers. And at that time when I was speaking about freedom, people were looking at me, what do you mean, Maxime?
You know, that is a very, I was surprised. That's like the size of Mark Carney's rallies. I was surprised. I haven't watched the video until now.
Yeah.
You know that, hold on.
Roxanne.
Wise Guy. No, but what?
Oh, sorry.
It was Wise Guy that was asking, wasn't he? Oh no, shit, you're.
Yeah, no, it was Roxanne, which I believe
what
might
city?
be. Yeah, she was saying, what city is this? And and I believe this is Roxy Ann's first time commenting. If so, Roxy, great to have you aboard. Hopefully you stick around.
I'm looking for you right now because I found the actual post, and that was posted yesterday. I do not know. That's it, because that's a very valid question. Like,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
was
because
the city-
it would make a big difference. I'm assuming not Quebec because he's speaking English.
Up. Look at the big brains on Robbie.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's I'm not just a pretty face. Not just a pretty
Yeah,
face.
it's a good thing because
That's all I got. You would.
it does not say, but that is a valid question.
Yeah.
Maybe because it looks like it's a new video. Maurice,
it did look
Maurice
kinda-
Cormier. You know, it's hard to tell because I look at the sign in the back. Oh shit, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold on.
Yeah, let's see.
Like I'm looking at.
For what you believe.
Oh, shit, that's
For what you believe.
Sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen. I was actually sharing the video. Hold on.
Oh.
Let me share my screen here and see
Where did you
how
find it? Was it did Max-
on his
did Max
X.
post it?
Yeah,
Okay.
on his X.
When did he
Let's
post
see
it?
how elect Maurice Cormier, People's Choice.
Oh
JP,
shit! Yeah. That's some good. That's some good.
Peter. So
Peter Terras. That's some good detective work. Let's see.
parental. That's in English. English. My Canada includes choice.
So Peter Terras is the PPC candidate for Niagara South.
Yeah, see, I knew this was Ontario because you
Yeah.
look at Peter Terrace, you look at Maurice Cormier, which could tell you where that's from too. Etobicoke, I can see it.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah, so
definitely in
they're right there.
Ontario.
That's right
So it's Toronto / from Toronto all the way to
Okay,
Niagara
cool.
Falls, but it's like an hour and a half, right? So it's really not that far. But it does look, if I would have to put money down, this looks like Toronto. Like just that building right there in the bottom. Like I lived in Toronto, so right here, that building there, this looks very familiar.
Yep.
So just looking at this, yeah, I'm ready to bet that's
Yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah, I definitely think that's probably correct.
That is
so yeah,
the widest crowd I've seen in a while.
That's good turnout, though. That's good turnout especially for Bernier.
Hold on, see entrance.
Wise guy. Oh yeah, what is that? Wise
Court-
guy says you would kind of expect that the PPC would back the Conservatives anyway. Yeah, you would. But Bernier, I'm sure. I kind of feel like on the day of he might say something, but he's been pretty not cooperative, I guess, if you want to say it that way.
I like how you not cooperative.
I think, as Cheryl said, she found herself turned off by what she perceived as attacks on Poilievre, and I think I think that's certainly valid as well.
It's hard to disagree with her.
Yeah,
but at the same time, is calling him out like I've been doing, for example, because God knows I've been responsible for calling him out. Is that the same as hating on him? It depends about the definition, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it all depends on your perspective. But yeah, was that the last video, or do we got one more?
Well, there's one thing I wanted to show. I'm just bringing it up right now. I will show it on the screen. Bang, because I saw that pop on my feed earlier, and it is from April 24th. So that was actually yesterday, so a day ago. He basically, all the tag is that it's over. Pierre Poilievre won't be the next prime minister. He may even lose his seat. So I saw that on my feed this morning. I'm like,
I mean, that sounds like attack. That sounds like shitting on him a little.
But
bungled the 20 point.
It's true. He was unable to differentiate himself from Carney and offer a truly conservative alternative. This is true. I've been saying this. Now you have an important decision to make that will determine if we have a true conservative, libertarian, and populist revival in Canada in the coming years or not. You can either waste your vote on the fake conservative losers who are going to spend the coming years debating if they should be
I would say Cheryl's right.
even more to the left to win next time with Doug Ford as their next leader, Oh shit! So basically, who was saying that earlier? You showed a video of
Yeah,
him losing
that
of
other.
Polyev and Doug Ford
Yeah, yeah.
becoming the leader of the conservative, or you can contribute to making sure the PPC survives this election and is there over the next 4 years to continue to push the Overton window in the right direction, right direction, with
Okay.
its perfect common sense platform. Perfect common sense platform. Goddamn.
That's,
Imagine how disastrous Canadian politics would be if the PPC just fades away. The polls gives us only 1 to 2%. Can we get more than that? Your vote can make a small but important difference. Think about it. And it's a Globe and Mail post saying conservative deploy volunteers in bid to save Poilievre's riding.
Interesting.
Bobbity boo boo.
Yeah, I mean that's that sounds like what Cheryl said. It sounds pretty like he's shitting on him for sure. He's
You know,
definitely
a
shitting on him.
great comedian will always bring back one of his jokes at the end of the show and close on it.
Yeah.
This is what we've done. We took one of your comments, we brought it back, and it was
Yeah.
not even done on purpose. This is fucking magical because I did not plan this. This is
Yeah.
something I saved earlier, and I just saw
Yeah.
the headline. I didn't even read it. I just saw the headline.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's gonna be interesting. What the fuck is he gonna? What is he gonna say about Pierre now?
Yeah, Cheryl
Oh,
says,
well,
"Thank
there
you,
you go.
Rob." Nico calls people out how he doesn't attack. No, that's right. She's saying,
You know
like,
what? I appreciate that because this is my goal. I call people out, but I'm not there to call them an asshole. I'm
Yeah.
not there to attack them, but I will bluntly call you out if I disagree, but I'll be the first one to say you were right when you are.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, clearly, Bernier has his own agenda, and I assume he just
No. No.
Yeah, exactly. I assume he probably just has decided that Poilievre and the Conservatives are just
Let's go balls out.
yeah, and as he said, he doesn't see them as conservative. So I think he's just trying to think if he can just get one seat, if he can get one seat, that really plants the flag for the next one for sure.
So guys, we're basically done. It's 15 after. We're like kind of on the dot when it comes to our show. I just want to make sure to remind you guys, if you're watching this, please like, please comment. If you're on X, share it. If you're on Rumble right now, make sure to follow the channel. If you're on YouTube, make sure to follow the channel. We can use your help. If you want us to continue doing what we do every day, make sure to show us some love.
Yep, please do. Final question here. Wise Guy says, if you look at Pierre's history, you will find a man who has shown nothing but hard work and dedication to helping Canadians. He helped put Harper in power, and remember that he was once libertarian. Yeah, I mean, I understand everyone's going to have their own opinions, their own perspective on it. You know, as I mean, from my perspective, I'm traditionally left leaning. So the fact that I'm even, you know, considering voting for a conservative is sort of outside my, I guess my comfort zone, I guess, or my natural range. But yeah, I think I'm not super thrilled about it, but he has done enough to get my vote. And to be honest, it probably wasn't that hard because of how terrible the Liberals have been over the last 10 years. So it doesn't, you know, it's at the end of the day, you know, everyone's got to vote their conscience. They have to vote how they see things. And I think, you know, that's the beauty of our system. And I think, you know, I think your comment is certainly a valid one.
You know, Wise Guy, where you and I might differ, I believe you're conservative. If you keep on, I don't want to say you're defending Pierre Poilievre, but you're at least
pro
you seem to be behind. Thank you. That's a good way to put it. So don't take this as an attack, but I just don't like his backbone. That's the problem. Again, I had high hopes for him before the election, but he did not show me that he would stand up for me when it mattered, because he didn't during COVID. He did not. We can argue on this all you want. He was not there for me during COVID. And I wanted him to be there for more conservative people like gun owners during the campaign. He did not. Literally today, the video we showed was the first time I can actually see one of his videos. And I'm like, oh shit. That is exactly what I've been calling for.
Where was that?
Like, this is what I've been calling for a month. And he
Yeah.
has all the ammunition to produce 100 of those videos. Yet he's waiting 3 days before the election or 4 days before the election. in order to do that. This is what I mean. This is somebody that plays not to lose. And this is my problem with him. As a guy that fought as an amateur in Muay Thai, I never played not to lose. I played to knock somebody out, knock their head off their shoulders every single minute of every single round. And that's what I expect from a leader. I didn't see it. So I don't respect that. I don't respect it. But I feel where you're coming from. I fully understand where you're coming from. And you know what? You're not wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. It's just my opinion.
Yep.
I go, that's all we are right now, right? Because for all I know, he's going to be elected and he's going to do a bunch of shit that I'm going to be clapping.
Yeah.
And if he does, I would love Pierre Poilievre to prove me wrong. I would love it because I would rather a conservative government than a fucking liberal. No question. I don't want the liberals to win. I'd much rather Pierre Poilievre wins, and I hope he proves me wrong, but that's my opinion right now. As it's
and he definitely agrees with you on that. I agree that's a concern, and I'm not a Poilievre groupie. I disagree with a few of his plans, and that's the beauty of the show, right? Like, we're not.
Thank you for being here, bro.
Yeah, we appreciate your
right
comment.
in.
You've been a great commenter all day, and hopefully you come back and stick around. We are live every day, Monday to Friday, from noon until 2-ish, usually a little longer. But you know,
Monday.
Not Monday. Not Monday, just because we're going to be doing live election coverage. So tune in Monday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be going all evening. But again, this little exchange there, Wise Guy, is exactly the beauty of the show, right? You, as long as you know, it's respectful discourse, it's respectful debate. And one thing that we find, you know, me as a lefty liberal, Nico as a righty, is that when you approach things from that angle, you're not going to agree on things, but you actually might find there's a lot more common ground than you might think. And so,
that's
that little
the point
exchange
is to become comfortable, to be able to talk about this.
Exactly.
To be able to respectfully. So I'm very happy that somebody like Cheryl said that Nico calls people out, however, he doesn't attack them, because this is my goal.
That's what you try to do.
I wouldn't be moving the needle. I wouldn't be helping anybody if I would just be like the right treats the left or the left treats the right now by calling them names. I wouldn't be helping. So I appreciate that. And thanks, Wise. And he seems like he's going to be there on the election. So
we'll see
bring the
we'll
popcorn, bring the alcohol, bring the weed, bring the cigars, whatever it is
that
makes you happy.
Yeah. Guys, as always, you know, you could have been anywhere in the world today, but you chose to be here with us, and we will always appreciate that. We've got, we had another excellent show today, a ton of audience participation. Saw a few new faces and a few old ones, and of course, we love it all. The reason we do this show live is exactly to have the kind of discourse and conversation that you guys saw this episode if you've tuned in. So again, if you did like the show, please like and share. That's the best thing you can do to help us to get the message out. And the second best thing you can do is just comment, engage. You know, the show is without you guys, it's just two fucking goofy ball guys, you know, shooting a couple of bald yahoos, shooting the shit, trying to stay relevant. So it's everything is just really based on the audience participation. And again, I think you guys showed today why we believe our audience is as good as any audience out there. Really
better. They're smarter.
Yeah, really smart. Other than that, guys, have an excellent weekend. We will see you Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for our live election coverage. Peace.